All right, good evening, everyone. Before we begin our session at 7:30, we do have an interview tonight. John Desmond is looking to be appointed to the Historic District Commission. John, come on up. Welcome, John. If you click the button on the right, it should turn red. And make sure it's
It does now.
Yep. First off, John, thank you for your interest and wanting to serve. We appreciate anyone's willingness to step up and want to do it. We do have your application, but if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, why you think you'd be a good member, if you've been watching what's been going on at the Historic District Commission meetings, maybe any successes you see there, challenges.
Well,
go ahead.
A couple of things. First of all, the chair of that committee, Murray Gates, asked me if I wanted to join. I had worked with Murray on the 300th anniversary committee. I had been the speaker coordinator for that committee there. So that's how I got to know Murray, and I got to know other people in South Kingstown. My own experience in terms of restoration of buildings, etc., is in New York State, where I had lived previously. I was a volunteer for the Hopewell Junction Depot Museum, number one, and I wrote the application that was successful to get that building on first the state and then the National Register of Historical Buildings. So I had that interest there, and this commission, when Murray asked me to join, he said it's a little like being with the depot, when in New York, and he said we probably could use your skills again in writing up an application for someone else who might want to have a building put on the national record or whatever. And beyond that, I got to know various people. I'm a member of the Tavern Hall Preservation Society, so I got to be intimate with one particular building that's on that register. Beyond that, I don't know what else you need.
All right, thank you, John. Any questions?
I just want to thank you for all of your work, and also to say I think that your skills in helping people to put their properties on the register would be well received by the town residents. So
okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes.
I just have a quick question. So I'm looking at your application. Doesn't make sense. It says you applied March 25th, 2025, and you've been a registered voter since 5/2/2025?
Yes. Well, we've owned property here since 2021, and to meet people, that's why I joined that 300th anniversary committee as soon as I got here. So that's how that. So I've been a owned property and a resident here, and then we moved from New York State to here. And after a few fun-filled hours at the motor vehicle department, getting new licenses and new plates, we're finally here.
I just couldn't figure out like the dates because if you physically handed it on March 2025, 3/25, how could they? Maybe Nicole did it in the office after the 2 dates I'm looking at.
So he had applied and we checked registration, and so that's when we checked and went, oh, you need to update registration.
Perfect.
It takes 30 days for that to go into effect. Yes.
No problem. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, John.
Okay, thank you for interviewing me. Bye.
All right, we're now going to move to a work session. Jim, what do we got?
Council President, there's one item I'd like to bring to the council's attention to discuss and make a decision on about streamlining and efficient use of time as it relates to the work session. And the reason I have to bring it to you is because they are rules and policies. The first one is, you should have copies in front of you. First one I'll refer to as the Town Council Rules of Conduct, and the second one will be the Rules of Commission, Committee, and Board Appointments, and they're related because one falls back on the other. So presently, it is required in the rules that, and I'll read from Rule 2, Item B, the Town Council shall hold a work session preceding each regular meeting, and the work session shall begin no later than 7 p.m. So I'll address that one first. So that is a requirement of this council. And I asked our solicitor, like, where these rules come from. So these rules came from past councils that came up with some rules that they wanted to follow for whatever reason. Steve Alford used to like, who was a long-serving 40-plus years town manager, who liked to have a work session and go over important items with the council and open before the council meeting started. We have since changed that policy a little, and now we just do it all wide open in the meeting. But if you look at that, sometimes we don't need a work session, or specifically not a half hour of a work session. Tonight would be a good example. Mr. Desmond came up, he was interviewed within 5 minutes. So if we had started on time at 7, came out of executive session, started on time at 7, we would have maybe 5 minutes of a work session where he had to be interviewed during the work session. And that would have been it. We would have had to take a substantial break. But let's jump ahead. The reason, if you go to the second part, Rules of Commission, Committee, and Board Appointments, you'll see on the second page, 3, Appointment Review Process. The Town Council shall review each application and invite specific candidates for appointment and/or reappointment to an interview prior to a regularly scheduled meeting or work session, all right? So they both go together here. What I'm looking for, what I would respectfully ask that you consider is, the recommendation would be this. On the work sessions, it would be optional when needed. So that if we only have one interview, well, I'll jump ahead. In a circumstance like tonight, where we had one interview, not 5 or 8 or 10, which could tie up a half hour, we could then, the second ask I would have for you to consider is that we would have the interview in the first part of the meeting, the 7:30 Town Council meeting. So first ask I would have is, it's required to have a work session, but I would ask you to consider that we have an optional when it's needed. And the second thing I would ask, presently, the interview has to be conducted before the meeting, the regular meeting, that it be considered that the interview can be conducted, or interviews during the meeting, as one of the first agenda items. This way, if we don't have executive session, and we don't have a work session, and you only have one interview that night, which could happen, you could start the meeting at 7:30. Or you could have executive session like tonight, where it was a substantial executive session. We could go longer and still do the interview during the main body of the meeting.
Is there any chance we could start the meeting at 7 instead of 7:30 or even 6:30?
So that, once again, the reason we started at 7:30 is because of all the stipulations that have been placed by other councils. But yes, you are the council. You can start this meeting whenever you really want. So we have a Q&A in front of you as well, between the solicitor and the clerk. And I think the meeting, I'm not sure if the meeting time was it in there?
It's the fourth one, I think it is.
Yeah. 1, 2.
It is required that it be scheduled somewhere, that it have a regular start time, which I believe is outlined in the rules of conduct.
Right. Every town has to have a scheduled beginning time, but you can choose. If you wanted to, instead of a work session, start your regular council meetings at 7, and as Jim suggested, do your interviews. And many other towns do their interviews as part of the regular session. It's not ahead of time. So you could start your meeting at 7, you could do interviews first, and then move on to the rest of your agenda, if you wanted to.
Okay, and any change would require a vote at a meeting during new business?
Right, depending on what you say tonight, I would prepare revisions, and this would come back to you theoretically at your September meeting, and you'd have time to review them, discuss them, and you would have to vote on them at a meeting, yes.
Okay. Just going to give some thoughts in response to what has already been mentioned. I do not agree with meetings starting prior to 7:30. I think there's a lot of people out there with busy schedules, including myself. The earlier you make these meetings start, the more difficult it is, to attend. But, just speaking for members of the public as well, there are very many, busy young professionals who I'd hate to hinder their ability to come to meetings if we do push the start times up. I think 7:30 is good. I think it also allows us to, have those optional work sessions, at 6:30 or prior. Any long work session that would have to precede any meeting that starts at 7, you're cutting into, regular business hours for many, and I think that is a cause for concern, and I do not agree with that. But as to making work sessions optional, I agree with that. As to making interviews at the beginning of the regular session, I agree with that as well. So 7:30 start time, work sessions optional if needed, and then interviews to be had at the beginning of the regular session, 7:30. Those are my thoughts. Go ahead.
So I do like the idea of the 7 o'clock start. I understand that your schedule is a little busier and you commute down from Providence, but just for the public, it is a challenge always. The later we go, it's challenging for all the meetings that continue until 11. So I would be for an earlier start. I do have one question, Mike, about, I have a business item about training for the staff, the boards and commissions, and based on whatever outcome happens there, would you be able to then incorporate that feedback into this policy?
Yeah, if you'd like, yeah.
Because
We've
it
got
does-
some ideas on how to institutionalize that through video presentations, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think, did you see my email that is on, okay, so you've seen that. So I think that would be helpful as well, so that we avoid the other things. I think that we typically have started at 6:30 and done whatever executive session. One thing to think about is to go have executive session, start again at the end. So we could start at 7 always, and then do executive session at 9:30 or 10. I know.
Yeah.
So if the only change is to eliminate the work session and make it optional, that seems like an easy change. The town council may hold a work session proceeding, right? It's just a tiny edit.
And then interviews at the beginning of the regular session.
Yeah, I like that, and I would ask, since you're leading the meeting, to just let the people know they don't have to stay. Like, because I feel like people don't know when to exit, so they're just, because they're new to the process.
Yep.
They don't need to sit till 10.
But it is really good if people do sit and listen to the meeting, because a lot of times we are discussing, very important things that we have like a chorus of echoes here, but it is very important that people do stay and listen to some of the new business items so that, they know what's happening.
I think we ought to have further discussion, maybe not right this minute, but Mike, if you're going to draft something for us, maybe leave that time thing open. Right. Because I think there's some balancing that needs to be taken into account. Rory's correct. Some people are going to have trouble getting here earlier, but by the same token, these meetings tend to go very long, and people get fatigued, including people at this table. But also, as the meeting goes on, people may lose interest or have to take care of kids at home or grandparents or whatever. So I think that's worth discussing a little more. As far as they may hold a work session, I think that's an easy fix. And holding the interviews during the meeting also gives us the opportunity to deal with it in real time when the interview is over. If we have all of the applicants who have applied for a position, we can take a vote and make a decision then, rather than saving that to the last minute in the meeting, because that also tends to get forgotten at 11:30 at night.
All right.
And I don't know if it's possible if we could sort of stack the interviews so that we only do that once a month. So we're interviewing 5 or 6 all at once, giving them all the same information, and then moving on. I know that instead of a trickle, just an organized, I'm a person who likes routines and predictability, so I appreciate knowing interviews are just once a month. The next one is this time. And we stack 7 or 8, and that instead of this drip, drip.
I can definitely look into that.
Okay.
to give you something. You get it before the next meeting and September, and we'll go from there.
Thank you, Mike. All right, we're going to go right into the regular session now. It's a little after 7:30. Today is Tuesday, August 12th. We're here for our regular town council meeting. First order of business, as always, is Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on the agenda is the land acknowledgement statement. The town of South Kingstown pays homage to the indigenous people and land on which the town is now located. Let this acknowledgement serve as a reminder of our ongoing efforts to recognize, honor, reconcile, and partner with the Narragansett tribe whose land and water we benefit from today. Next, we have the roll call.
Council President McEntee,
Here.
Council Vice President Marin,
Here.
Councilmember Bergner, Councilmember Ali.
Here.
It is noted that Councilmember Wedgemont is absent.
Thank you. It's going to move us to item 5, approval of minutes of previous meetings.
So at the executive session for the 28th, I came in late, so I'm not going to vote on that. If you just,
I can do it.
I'm just telling everybody.
Were we
Mo-
gonna,
Sorry.
were we gonna take C out of the consented?
We're doing
Okay.
minutes.
Oh,
Sorry. Motion to approve items 5A, B, and C.
All right, we got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion?
I'm abstaining from C.
Okay. Do you want to remove your motion, revoke it, so that it's A and B, we get unanimous, and then we get one abstention as to C?
I'll withdraw the motion, change it to motion to approve items 5A and B.
second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, that passes. Do I hear a motion on 5C?
Motion to approve item 5C.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, that passes 3-0 with one abstention. It's now going to move us to item 6, the consent agenda.
So I'd like to remove letter C from the consent agenda so that we can discuss it at the same time with the other issue on Oak Street. 10H.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that passes. We're going to take up item 6C and combine that with new business item concerning Oak Street. And we'll take that up at the beginning of new business. We'll move that one right up. Do I hear a motion on consent agenda items 6A and B?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that passes. It's now going to bring us to the town manager's report. Jim Manny, go ahead.
Thank you, Council President. The first item would be an update on the School Building Committee and School Facilities Project. And we have here tonight representatives from Leftfield and Gilbane, as well as the chair of the School Building Committee. And they could step up now and answer any questions and do a presentation from the last School Building Committee.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kate Turner with Left Field. I'm joined here by 2 members of the Gilbane team. We've got some important information to discuss today regarding contracts. So I'll start our update as we usually do, touch on where we are currently with our project schedule, go through some key dates. We have a big item on our agenda, approving our first construction contract. We'll give an update on where we stand with the enabling site work that's been going on to get ready for the first day of school, and then we'll give a brief update about where we are with the Curtis Corner project as well. Make this a little bigger. All right, so here we are on August 12th. If we look where we're intersecting in the construction document period, we currently have our 60% construction document set out for estimating. Those estimates are due next week, and we'll be doing a reconciliation of those estimates at the end of the month, presenting the findings of those estimates back to this council in the first September meeting. We are also in our permitting phase, so permits have been submitted for our foundations with the town. So that includes also a soil and erosion permit. So those are currently under review by the building department and engineering and town staff. We are also still awaiting our final RIPD's permit. Comments have been received and responded to, but we have not yet received the permit. So that is, we are anticipating that to be before the end of the month. If we look at our kind of light green bar here, we are kind of at the tail end of our early bid package, which is where we are right now, looking for approval of the initial construction contract for those early bid packages that include structural concrete, steel, site work, and some long lead time items as well. So we're anticipating starting construction towards the tail end of September of this year and finalizing construction at the end of the summer for 2027. So we go into some of our key dates. These are some of the key milestones that we've been tracking with you as we go forward. We did receive a recommendation from the school building committee for the early GMP for early bid package number 1. And outlined here in green is where we are tonight, seeking approval from this council. We'll then be giving a notice to proceed to award those contracts to those various subcontractors. We've identified the end of the month for the RIPD's permit that we've just previously discussed, as well as our final planning board approval, which is contingent on our RIPD's permit. So with all of that in hand, the building department will be able to issue our foundations permit in the beginning of September, which aligns with mobilizing our contractors in the middle to end of September. Any questions on the overall project schedule?
Go ahead. When we were here July 28th, we talked about the RIPD's permit being 7 to 10 days out. We still don't have it. Is that going to mess with the schedule?
So they had agreed to give us comments within 7 to 10 days. They gave us their comments, which have been responded to, but they have not yet issued the permit.
So is that going to slow us up with the schedule?
If it continues past the beginning of September, it will impact our schedule and our ability to start. The building department cannot issue permits without it.
All right. With the comments that they gave you, is there any indication that it'll be anything but issuance of a permit?
No, there was nothing that was significant that was flagged in their comments. So I don't anticipate there being a reason to hold it up other than just the process that they follow.
The grinding wheels of the bureaucracy.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
I'm just looking through my email one more time. Did you ever give us comments from RIDE that you were going to send us?
I had sent them to the town for distribution, so I can follow up with Luke to see if those made it. I think that might have gotten lost in the shuffle.
All right, this will be the third time we've requested those.
Thank you.
So can you make sure that the council receives those?
Yes,
Not just members of the administration, but the council members?
No, understood.
Thank you,
I don't
Rory.
know if I can send things directly to the council.
Well,
Can
any
we,
member of
can
the
we
public
flesh that
can.
out right now?
Any member of the public can, so why couldn't you?
Left Field is questioning whether they are able to send any items directly to the council. Can we flesh that out? Mike, can you comment on that?
Yeah, I think what would make most sense is get it to the manager and he'll get it to all of you.
So
Well, we've tried that. This is our third time at trying to get this.
I've asked 2 other times, and so I appreciate you helping me.
Well, hopefully the third time's the charm.
All right.
In the meantime, Kate, can you kind of summarize what the comments were from RIDE?
Sure. It was just an update on different pieces of paperwork, updates on the New England CHIPS comments, some questions they had on the estimate, some information that they needed kind of to be pointed in the right direction of. So it was really more paperwork and process that they were asking questions about. There was nothing significant regarding the cost schedule or design of the building.
Thank you.
All right, as we move into key dates for our 4-week look ahead of where we stand with the site enabling work. To date, I've got members from Gilbane to help give our update as well, but to date, they have mobilized, they have begun the temporary road work, they've identified utilities. The fiber, the internet has been relocated as of this past weekend, and they are looking to remobilize, I think, next week to do the phones. As far as Rhode Island Energy is concerned, we are still working with them to cash the check that was sent 3 weeks ago so that they can finalize their schedule to get the temporary power moved over as well. And I'll hand it over to Mark to give in a little bit more detail as to what that Gilbane has been doing on site.
Thank you, Kate. Good evening, council members. So just to go through the document that's up here ahead of you, all of the week 1 activities that you see there have all been completed. So those are all done. Week 2 activities are progressing well ahead of schedule. So we've already excavated for the new road. The paving crew's coming in tomorrow. So we should actually be paving that new parent-student drop-off area as of tomorrow. We've met with the temporary fencing contractor today. They're going to mobilize as well tomorrow and start installing temporary fence, which is on schedule. And all demolition work has been completed. The patio's been demolished. The water line that we needed to get investigated that needed to have been relocated was found to not having to be relocated. So there's going to be a little bit of savings to come back to the town on that for not having to do that work. And we're going to start excavating for the underground portion of the new electric service that Kate was just talking about with Rhode Island Energy. Rhode Island Energy's already relocated the conduits out of the transformer to refeed it. We're doing the electrical trench now. The only part that we're still missing, as Kate alluded to, was the overhead work with the poles and the wires, and they won't put us on their schedule until they receive that check and it clears. So we're just waiting for that to happen, and that's probably the last piece of the puzzle. The rest of it will be cleaning the place up, striping it, making it look pretty. Any questions?
Well in advance of first day of school.
Well in advance of the first day of school.
I went to the site today. I saw them doing the curb cut
Yep.
off of School Street. It
Yep.
looked like they were going gangbusters. So
Yeah, we're moving
Thank
along
you.
well ahead of schedule. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I will take a pause here. This is an agenda item we have later on the agenda for our recommendation for our contract award. I don't know if we want to pause until that item of new business and revisit it, or if we want to discuss it at this time.
No, we'd like to hear about it now.
Okay, wonderful. I do have Kate Massinanti from the School Building Committee to summarize the recommendation for this award.
Kate Massinanti, School Building Committee. I do want to kind of precipitate, like, if we can move that agenda item N up, because I just came from a school committee meeting and I have to go back to the school committee, and I would love to have a resolution to that before I go back so I can give an update to the school committee. It'd be great. So I'm just here to formally, you all received a memo from Luke. We've made a recommendation to award this first package, this first GMP #1 package. And I'm just here just to formally say that our building committee approved to make that recommendation to you guys. I'm going to leave it to the project team to get into the details of it. It's a very favorable award. I'm very excited about it. Within reason, I promise, because we have another bid package coming through, so we want to keep our excitement, mitigated. But I'm going to let Kate and the team get into the detail they need to get into. But I just wanted, as a school building committee chair, to formally make the recommendation to please accept this award package. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate.
All right, so Gilbane has formally bid out our early bid package that we've been reviewing. That included bid package for concrete, structural steel, fireproofing, elevators, enabling electric work, which includes our switchgear, long lead time items, enabling site work that was already approved but just being formally contracted, the site work for the entirety of the project, Site Services, which is essentially the vehicle that Gilbane uses to get work done, so all of their costs on the ground. Owner allowances for things that have not yet been identified. General conditions, which is Gilbane's labor costs. Their fee, that's contractually a contractual 1.75%. Bonds, insurances, permit costs. We have an ADA permit that we're needing to pay through the state, as well as Union Fire District costs that we've allocated, and construction contingency. That is included in here as well. And then also in the dark gray line, you'll see the pre-construction fee and geothermal test wells. Those have also already been approved, but it is just formally being contracted within this agreement. So it's not an additional cost, it's just being put into one bucket. So the bid for concrete, the recommendation for award goes to J.L. Marshall & Son for a total of $3,397,000. That is $435,000 under the design development estimate. The next vendor is Structural Steel, recommending Northeast Steel Structures at a value of $5,407,105. That is about $2 million under the DD estimate. That does include some of the value engineering items that were presented at design development. So those savings have been realized within this package. For anybody that remembers, there was a reduction in moment connections, which is just a simplification of how the structure is put together. Fireproofing. The recommended award is to H. Carr & Sons for $654,510, $209,000 under the DD estimate. Otis Elevator, $216,000 recommended award, $21,000 under the design development estimate. The Enabling Electric, the award recommendation is for James J. O'Rourke Incorporated for $1,077,400. That is about $31,000 over the design development estimate. Skipping down to 31B, site work, that's for the entirety of the project, being recommended for award to the site contractor that is doing the enabling work currently, which is J.R. Vinagro, for a value of $5,989,661. That is about $2.5 million under the design development estimate. And again, that is inclusive of the value engineering exercises that were completed at the end of design development. So that's a reflection of that savings there. Site services total, that'll be through Gilbane for $1,800,418. Owner allowances of $625,000, and all of the additional, what we call soft costs, the intangible items, total $4,014,596. So we are requesting approval of a guaranteed maximum price agreement. It's an amendment to the A133 contract between the town of South Kingstown and Gilbane for a total value of $23,887,771. So you'll see the big number in green here in the bottom right. We are $5,462,588 under the design development estimate. So it's right where we want it to be, puts us right in target for our budget. The reason why Kate was saying that she is conservatively excited, it is great news. It is exactly where we want to be. We just don't want to put that money in the bank until we have completed the bidding. This is about 25% of our entire construction contract. So we still have a ways to go. We still have more packages to bid out. So we're starting off on a great foot. And with that, I will open it up to any questions.
Good.
Just a note, I don't know if you said this, but the GMP means guaranteed maximum price. I don't know if you said that for the people who are not, who are just tuning in. So I have a question about Gilbane's fees. So is it site services and the GCs? Because I thought you said Gilbane was 1.75% of the project.
So that is their fee. General conditions is their staffing costs. That is the cost for the people. And then the site services are the cost of the actual work that they're going to perform on the grounds. It's things like winter conditions, if we need to have heaters when they're curing the concrete. It's things like additional barriers to make sure that there are protections around certain areas. It's cleaning of the site. So it's all of the kind of little things that have to happen to support all of the trades that are on site and make sure we have a safe project site.
Okay, and so then their fee is, when you said 1.75% of?
The construction contract value.
Okay. Thank you.
Which is 1.75% of the 23 million approximate, correct?
For this portion of it, yes, and then there will be that fee applied to the remaining amount as well.
You had mentioned in your presentation a state fee and Union Fire District fees. Do you remember what those are?
I can look it up and tell you.
If it's easy right there, fine. If not, send it to us later.
Yes, I can, once I pull down my screen, I can pull up the contract and dig through for it.
I won't interrupt you on that. My real concern, we had several discussions about the Union Fire District fee, and that's why I'm wondering why that's even in there. I thought there was a question of whether or not it was going to be waived.
Yeah.
So I can take the first part of it, and then I'm happy to hand it over to the town manager. In our conversations, when we went through our initial permitting conversations with them, the majority of the fee has been waived. They are holding back a certain percentage. We have assigned a $50,000 allowance to essentially whatever their staff needs to do, and it'll be charged hourly.
Okay. As I recall, months and months ago when we started talking about this, it was over $500,000.
It's close to 600,
right, so,
yes.
Yeah, $50,000, I don't want to even spend more time on it.
Mm-hmm.
And the state fee?
It's a state ADA fee. It's required.
ADA?
ADA fee, yeah. It's 1.5%.
Okay.
So if the Union Fire fee is reduced to $50,000, it's a savings of $600,000. Is there?
That's already reflected in this.
It's already reflected in this?
Yes, the $600,000 has been waived. We're holding $50,000 allowance for their costs.
Okay.
So I want to echo what Kate said. I'm very happy to see some of the overages, especially in steel. And I'm knocking on wood everywhere. I appreciate your diligence and hope that the next, the next packages will also reflect these, because it's really, it feels good to see these numbers. So thank you. Please keep up the good work.
Thank you.
I do have a question. I just kind of want to bring this back to the basics so everyone sort of watching and seeing understands what's happening here. Maybe this is a question better for Gilbane, but I just want you to sort of briefly explain what a guaranteed maximum price agreement is in the process by which you've gone out and sought subcontractors and identified them and have recommendations here for us tonight.
I can take the first part on the guaranteed maximum price, and then I'll hand it over to Mark to talk about the bidding process and their process. The guaranteed maximum price is part of the AIA 133 agreement that's been executed already between the town and Gilbane. And essentially what it means, it is a contract that locks the construction manager into a price at the time that those numbers are bid out based on the scope of work that's been identified in the drawings. So the drawings that went out to bid, that is part of the contract. It says this is what they own. They have to provide this scope of work for this amount of money. It cannot go over it, and unless something changes, it can't go under it. So how that does change, and as it typically does as part of this process, if there is a change to those documents that were bid out, it is assigned as a change order, and that would come as an increase or a decrease, if it's a reduction, to the overall contract, that guaranteed maximum price. It would either be an addition of what we see as the soft costs, the fee, bond, insurance as percentages that gets added on to the change order. And the same thing with the reduction. It would reduce those percentages as well. But it is a locked-in value based on the scope of work at the time we went out to bid.
So it's a locked-in number that can be adjusted by change orders?
Only if there is a change. If it doesn't reflect inflation or somebody got a raise and they want to get paid more, that scope of work is locked in at that amount of money unless there is an unforeseen condition, which they couldn't have included in their bid because nobody knew about it. There is a change to the scope of work. If somebody either asks for something to be added, modified, or reduced, that would be a change order. If the fire marshal or the state or somebody comes in and says, you need to add more exit signs, you need to have more sprinklers, that wasn't part of the original bid, that would be a change order. Or if there's a coordination error, there's something missing on the drawings that weren't part of that bid, the bidder could not have included it in their price, that would also be considered a change order.
So at the last meeting, we talked about how at some point there's going to be a recommendation from the school building committee as to a process by which change orders could be approved.
Yes.
So we do anticipate change orders. It's just something you anticipate in projects of this magnitude. Is that right?
That's correct, and that's why we hold a 5% owner's contingency within our total project budget. That's outside of the GMP. Gilbane does not have access to that money unless it is awarded via change order.
Okay, and that's how the change orders come into play. They change the amount that we've agreed upon as to the guaranteed maximum price.
Correct.
Okay.
And
All
then,
right.
do you want to talk about your bidding process and how you got to that number?
Sure. So the design team has given us the early release packages that you have in front of you, which they're considering at the 100% stage. We're going through the 60% stage now for the overall project. We're currently estimating that, I think, as you know. But these packages are based on those being 100%. So Gilbane has a pretty extensive pre-qualification process that it goes through with all of the contractors that want to do work with us. We check their financial capability, their past projects and references, and that they're able to handle the job. We also monitor how much work they have in progress at the time with us. We're also entering into a new system that kind of shows how much work they have going on with other contractors as well, so we can kind of gauge how full they are on the amount of work that we feel that they're able to handle based on their size. So we took that list and went out to bid to half a dozen, 6, 7, 8 maybe, of each of those packages, of which we received, most of the packages had 3 or 4 that came back and gave us prices. A couple of them had 1 or 2 for different reasons, but we then take those bids, the first round of bidding, we analyze it, we sit down, we go through a scope review process with them, which is a call. Left field participates, the design team participates. We go through the whole scope of work with each of them separately. That's where we flesh out what they're not understanding about what we want them to do, or maybe there's some work that they misinterpreted or they missed. So we get everybody apples and apples, so to speak, and then we go out for best and final bids is what we call it. So that's another chance for them to take the results of those scope reviews and get one more shot at the apple to put their best foot forward, give us their best price. We then receive those prices, and we analyze that, we put that together in our spreadsheet, and make a determination on who we feel would be the lowest qualified bidder. That's not necessarily always the lowest cost. There may be MWBE participation and requirements that need to be met, where that would require, that would have us representing maybe the second lowest bidder because we needed those to hit our goals for this project. Or we feel that, they would just be a better contractor. The contractors that you have in front of you here are they happen to be the lowest cost that came through. And I believe you guys in your package on the GMP should have the evaluation of all of the different bid results from all of the different people that bid on the project. So that's the numbers that you see in front of you and the process we go through to get there.
So I'm not used to not talking, but I'm Frank Gallucci. I'm a senior project executive with Gilbane, and I'm a town resident. So I am involved. I'm sitting in for Tony Magida tonight. But one thing we're doing, our market is extremely busy here in Rhode Island. You know of all the other school projects. So in addition to getting a robust bid list and going through the pre-qualification process, we also get a feel with who's bidding what and when. That way we're sure that the work is given out. We're not giving too much work to any contractor. So we do speak to a degree with some of our competitors, just to see what packages are going out, to try to bring, the best value we can to our town. So, I mean, we stepped that process up as well. And as Mark said, I mean, financials is very important to us, and how much work they're doing currently. Their EMR is the one that we want to be safe. It pays everybody for, safe contractors. So the process, these contractors are vetted. That's why it takes quite a long time, but I think you see the results so far. I mean, I think it's well worth the process that we've gone through.
Thank you. One more follow-up here, just curious. So it looks like we're going to go through about 4 of the guaranteed maximum price agreements through the duration of this construction here. Is that typical? Obviously, the more agreements protects your firm against volatility, potential loss, as opposed to if you just do one large one, you can't really foresee what's going to happen in the next 2 years. Is that typical, 4 for a project of this magnitude?
We're anticipating 2 guaranteed maximum price
Oh,
agreements.
just 2?
Yes. So this one, and then we'll have a final at the end of October.
So the figure for the number 2 will be a lot larger?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And is it typical that 2? There's only 2 for a project of this magnitude?
Yes. Yeah, ideally you get it all in one shot, but based on the schedule, to be able to award this early package gave us the most cost certainty as well as schedule certainty to be able to award these packages that are in front of you tonight. But if we were to award the remaining packages tonight, it would be very padded, and it would not be in the town's best interest because, as you mentioned, they don't have cost certainty, which means they will be adding additional costs to make up for that uncertainty. So it is typical to do 2 GMPs.
Got it. Thank you.
Just at the risk of jinxing Patty's knocking on wood, I'm sure there's some people in the audience thinking about this question. If there's a tweet tomorrow announcing a 50% tariff on steel, this doesn't change.
This particular package, so this number is baked for these packages as they stand today. One interesting thought about tariffs is the tariffs don't hit until they are imported and the actual goods are imported. So that's kind of a volatility that we can't predict, but I know Gilbane has some protections for tariffs, and I'll let Mark speak to that.
So our procurement process currently has us bidding the project at the tariff rates as they stand during the bid. And then we ask each of the contractors, as any additional tariff comes into play, we write it into their contract. You have 30 days, I can't remember the exact days, but let's just say it's 30 days, to notify Gilbane that there is an increase in your cost due to tariffs. There's a ton of backup we're going to request that they have to prove that. And then we, in turn, would notify you immediately upon being notified ourselves of that increase, and then we would move on from there.
Is there any discussion with your bidders in terms of the supply chain that they've got in the works right now?
We've asked each of for steel in particular, we've asked them what they're looking in the crystal ball and what they're foreseeing, and as of right now, they're buying American. So the lowest bidder, Northeast, that we're recommending is buying American steel. So
no tariff.
There shouldn't be any foreign tariffs that are involved in that. So
thank you.
All right. Any other questions for Kate or Gilbane while we have them here?
I was looking at something else, and I apologize. Just the second GMP project bid, did you say when that would come before us?
Yeah, we're looking in November.
Okay. So you didn't say that. I didn't miss it, right? Or you did?
I think I said October by accident, but it's
Okay.
November.
Okay. So right before the holidays, we
Yes.
will have a pretty close estimate of the actual cost of the high school.
Yes.
You don't want to, based on today, the wrong thing to say would be it's 145 million. It could be more, it could be less. It's still up in the air.
Correct.
But not to exceed 150.
That's correct.
There you go. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
I know Kate is here. Can we move this up to?
Absolutely, we can.
Okay.
We're
Motion
gonna
to-
move up
Items.
Yes, 10N.
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 Motion to approve item 10N.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Is that sufficient, Mike?
Do we have?
Any discussion?
No, we've had it.
All in favor? Aye. Right, that passes. Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Gilbane. Thank you, Kate. All right, it's going to move us, continuing through the town manager's report.
The next item is a discussion with the council for a date of the work session for a homestead exemption program. The date, in speaking with the town clerk, the date that would work best would be a Wednesday, September 24th, from 7 to 9 p.m., if that is okay with the council.
Works with me. Does that work for you?
Yeah. It's Rosh Hashanah.
Not on
It's
Rosh
day
Hashanah.
2, but I don't know, is it only day 1?
I don't know.
I wouldn't do it.
What are you asking, to postpone it, or what do you?
I'm still okay with that date.
I'm okay with that date, but I just didn't know if we're allowed to meet on that date. We are? Okay.
I'm okay with that.
I don't think it's a good idea.
I don't either.
How about the 17th?
Nicole, does that work?
Is that the other date we had discussed? We unfortunately can't do that date because the zoning board of review, has a scheduled meeting that night, and they have advertising that they do for public hearings.
How about the following Wednesday on the 1st?
The 1st of September?
October.
October, okay.
Do you want to get back to us by email? Can we do
I
that?
currently don't see anything in here on that day, so I believe it would be open.
I think we should grab it.
So Wednesday, October 1st,
Yeah.
7 to 9.
We're still against the 24th here? I'd like to do this meeting in September.
It does say, when you Google, scheduling a meeting during Rosh Hashanah would likely exclude Jewish colleagues and partners from participating, potentially causing inconvenience and disruption.
How about the 10th?
Of September?
Yeah.
That would be too early to get all the data we need.
That's
right.
also a municipal court night, and we can't have that.
All right, let's do October 1. 7 to 9. That's a Wednesday, correct?
Yeah.
Great.
Just so that you know, I don't know if you needed a solicitor at that meeting, but
We absolutely do.
on October 1, Amy is at a Bristol Town Council meeting. Peter is at Cumberland Town Council meeting. I'm in Chicago, and Andy Tights, it's the first night of Yom Kippur. So he can't make it,
Oh,
so
it's
no
Yom
one
Kippur?
from my office would be able to make October 1st. I'm sorry. That's
How
why
about
I'm bringing
October
it
8th?
up now. October what?
8th.
You look first.
It might be ahead of time enough for us to try to skip a traffic court night, just because we're so far out when we schedule, when people get tickets, the police have the date assigned, because we do the second Wednesday of every month for traffic court.
That's municipal court?
I can check.
Could you do it Tuesday, or could you do it Tuesday night?
Why was the Wednesday the night chosen?
I mean, like Tuesday night, October 7th would be is October 7th free? If they're free.
Well,
Why don't we just have it on a Monday when we typically don't do a regular meeting, and is there an issue?
because there are other boards that meet.
Okay. So Tuesday, the 7th is available, and you're asking about a Monday that you normally wouldn't have a council meeting. That would be Monday, October 6th. I'm available. I'm available Monday, October 6th, and I'm available Tuesday, October 7th. I just can't do the 8th.
It's fair. Either.
I can do either.
I don't know if I can commit to those dates at this time. Can we think about this further, decide at the September meeting, lock something in at that time? Can you maybe propose a number of dates.
I'll get
that can
together
work.
with Nicole, because this is something that doesn't violate the Open Meetings Act. We can go back and forth with dates with no violation, so we'll do like a doodle poll or something.
Great, thank you. All right, we're going to continue through the town manager's report.
So item C is an update on the Main Street improvements that we've been doing, and I'll follow up with some social media stuff that we're going to start doing very soon as well. So if you notice on Main Street, the first thing you'll notice is the street looks much cleaner at DPW. Now, that's a state road, by the way, but we took in our own hands. Our DPW, our Parks and Rec, sent maybe a dozen of its employees at 6 in the morning and cleaned from the Muse all the way up, not quite CVS, but up towards that way. Weeds, brush, litter, swept everything. They did a great job. It looked totally different in a matter of hours. But we need to constantly improve that. We just can't let it happen or just dump it on the state to do it. We need to take it in our own hands. So we are. So once again, the first thing we did is we hired 2 part-time employees. The total budget is less than $30,000 a year, which will constantly keep the Main Street clean from litter, weeds, once again, brush, water the flowers, and so forth and so on, and I'll get into that. There's been 12 planters placed with flowers on Main Street, with more to come in the future. There's 12 park benches that are going there, and there's 4 trash receptacles. In addition to that, there's 12 planters with flowers on the bridge, which were courtesy of the farmer's daughter, those 12 planters right there. They did it for free. Yes.
They did the flower part for free?
Yes. Also like to bring to your attention, we're taking this further as well. We applied for a Safe Street grant, federal grant, going through the state to get it, and that was for $5 million. If we get that, that'd be great. That would be all safety improvements, crosswalks, sidewalks, lighting, signage, many additions that we could really use on the Main Street, the entire Main Street. So we haven't heard yet, but we are moving forward with these other with this phase first to start it. It's long overdue, and I think it's a great improvement to our Main Street. One other point, the basins, the drainage basins up by Shaw's Market have looked atrocious. That's been a battle since the day I got here. That's a DOT road as well. No fault to them. They've done the right thing. They've hired us contractors. Some have stepped up, some have stepped back. So, but I'm working on a plan with the DOT to have the town take those over for maintenance, but they would pay the town directly. So this way we could hire our own contractors to clean that. It goes in phases. Sometimes it looks really good, sometimes it doesn't. Just so happened when I made that complaint, the next day they showed up and they cleaned it. They're paying substantial money to contractors, but they're across the state and they're not really doing the right thing there. But we're working on that, and that's been a project from day one. The other thing is you're going to see some social media stuff starting next week rolling out that I think the town will be pleased with. We do so many things around here that are so positive, but we really haven't had a really robust social media plan until recently, till we hired a replacement for my office that is pretty good at social media and is learning more and more about it. You'll see 5 projects that are going to be showcased, 5 big things this town has been working on. The Community Learning Center, that's $3.6 million budget for that, and it came in under budget, and we'll go over that tonight because the award of contract will come before you. That'll get showcased. That's a huge improvement where the Peacedale Library is. We got tremendous state aid and federal aid to do this, and it'll focus on job searching, health, and employment stuff that would really benefit our town. EMS, we're building a beautiful facility down Perryville. We've gotten, I think it's nearly $2 million in grants to build that, which will really expand the operational safety capabilities for the entire town, where we can serve the South Shore real well with a new EMS facility. That'll be the 3rd one, long overdue. That'll be showcased. Old Mountain Field, that's used by more people from all over the region, Narragansett especially, and we're putting a tremendous amount of money into that. Some of it is grant money as well. That'll be featured. We're going to do a social media rollout every week and then updates moving forward after that. I talked about the Main Street. We'll be doing constant updates on that. But the big one is the high school, doing social media updates on the progress that the high schools, as we're moving forward. But this isn't just going to be a feel-good showcase. It's going to go over the profile of what we're doing, an update on what we're doing, the cost, who's doing the construction. It'll be very transparent, and it'll be, I'm sure that the town's people will appreciate seeing in real time what's going on. So that's all I have on Main Street. Item D is transition to the Civic Plus agenda management rollout. Luke Murray will explain that. That's going to take over for clerk base in the near future. So Luke.
Thank you, and good evening. So I just wanted to take a moment to discuss a little bit about Civic Clerk, which is our new agenda management software. So if you remember, approximately 6 months ago, Lori Ann Fox had come in front of you for an award, a bid for a new agenda management software. And we had explained at that time that Clerkbase kind of lagged behind the industry over the years on how the new technologies, including workflow in preparing the agenda, as well as other items I'll go forward with in a minute. First, I want to thank Lori for helping with the implementation and moving this forward with staff. The planning staff, the building staff have been great in embracing this effort, and I think they see it as a real step forward for everybody, but it's going to ultimately land also in your lap because you have agendas as well, and there's management on that end that takes place. It will be a bit of a change from Clerkbase. It's a little different look. It'll have a little different feel, a little bit different management, but overall, I think you're going to find it's better. Our hope is that you find it better. This is kind of the first soft introduction saying it's coming, right? So what is this software? Well, as you may or may not know, we use Civic Plus for our website management, and they're all things web-related. That includes our calendar. This Civic Management is a module of that same company, and it's integrated into the website. So eventually we'll be able to integrate the calendar with our agenda management, where right now it's a multi-step process that will be integrated. In addition, on the back end, which you don't typically aren't privy to, but we intimately are, there's a very laborious process in creating an agenda. It would seem relatively simple, right? For a council where now the expectation is very high as far as linking documents, providing references, ensuring something that's adapted day after day. During agenda week, we might be changing that agenda 10, 15 times, sometimes 20 times. The manager's up and down to the clerk's office. There's a lot of back and forth through emails. All of that's contained now within a workflow system. So where managers are typically writing memos and kind of putting them in a folder, then they're scooped up, then they're transmitted to Clerkbase, that's going to be a lot of it's going to be self-managed by the directors. So now they'll be able to create the agenda item, put in that information, it goes through an approval process, and it's more of authorizations to get to that agenda item being put on. In addition, those links are put on by the department directors, whoever's creating that, and it's authorized by the manager, authorized by the clerk, and once that authorization happens, it immediately gets uploaded onto the agenda. So it's a living document until the point where the clerk can authorize that to be distributed. So it's a much more efficient workflow system. On the back end, meeting minutes integrate with this system. So that means live minutes can be taken by the clerk, votes can be taken in real time. Those meeting minutes are generated on platform, on premises, if we choose. And that would be a much more efficient way to do it. As you well know, during the transition with the clerk, we did fall behind on minutes. Minutes can take days to create. It's going back to videos, it's recounting your notes. If you're doing it live time, it's much simpler. In addition, I anticipate that this system is going to pick up on AI very quickly, and there's already softwares like eScribe that are adopting AI technologies to take the video recordings from meetings and create a whole summary of notes from the meeting. So in addition to your typical meeting minutes and your video, there would be an AI summary of the whole meeting that would really be boiled down for those who just want to check in from the public on a front-facing basis to say, hey, what were the hot topics discussed? What were the decisions to be made? In addition, moving forward, I anticipate searches being much easier. So one of the things I know is probably a concern is you can go on the Clerkbase now, you run a search. It's pretty decent. It's not perfect. You'll kind of have to weed through things, but if you're trying to find, hey, when was this voted on, trying to see that information, I know that's probably very big to you. I know it's very big to me. With AI, you'll be able to put in a very simple, prompt. When was a vote taken on the high school that involved $2.3 million and was regarding power lines? And it'll pop up. So while it's not quite there yet, there is a pretty good search mechanism, just like Clerkbase, in this system. However, the way all of these systems are going, it's going to be a matter of months to a couple of years, and you're going to have that technology built in. Civic Plus is very forward-facing. They're adopting a lot of AI technologies like chatbots and whatnot. I expect that this will advance very fast, and it'll be a much better platform. So with that, this, again, is just to discuss it in general. There is going to be training. Lori's going to be sitting down with each of you. She's going to be introducing the platform to all of you to make sure we'll have a soft rollout. I believe Nicole's already generating kind of redundant agendas, and our clerk staff is embracing it. Planning staff is already using it. Building staff is already using it. The last benefit is that typically most of our boards and commissions were not on a similar platform. A lot of them were done in Word. They were not kind of live living documents with links. We're moving to that agenda software for all agendas. So we have the ability to link on all of them. There's a consistent voice. They look the same. So while it may be insignificant to some, we find it kind of interesting in the betterment, because consistency is key for the public. They know what to expect when they go on. They can find the data that they're looking for. So we're taking strides in that realm. And I'll be glad to entertain any questions.
Thank you, Luke. Any questions?
Just one quick, and I think we may have discussed this with Lori when we did the contract. Is it also going to have a tutorial for the public?
Yeah, it has extensive help, and it does have. We can have a tutorial for the public for sure.
Anything? All right. Thank you, Luke.
That's all I have for the town manager's report.
Thank you, Jim. All right, let's go ahead.
So just a quick question, and you'll have to follow up. We were supposed to have the website sort of tweaked, and we talked about the color scheme multiple times.
Yes, that was done.
It is? Wasn't done when I looked.
That was done months ago, actually.
I see the red. So,
Maybe it's your cookies.
no.
I mean, you might see, I don't know, I mean, you might see some different color than blue, but we changed all the colors to different.
No. Red.
I'm going right now.
It's red.
I got blue and brown.
On the side? Keep going down. Go to another page.
The buttons are still red.
But they're all red. Anyway, I'm looking at red.
All right. Perhaps
Can you just
you
follow
can look
up?
into that, Jim?
Yeah, I'll check. I don't know if there were other colors other than blue, but I'll check now with IT and find out.
All right. Thank you. All right, that's now going to move us to public comments. Anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on any matter, I invite you to come on up. We just ask that you introduce yourself. We're going to limit you to 5 minutes. When you begin speaking, that timer will begin counting down. You can use it as a way to gauge to stay within the 5. We're going to do 30 minutes of public comment. Then we're going to move through new business rather quickly. Then we're going to come back to public comment. And if anyone out there wishes to speak on the Oak Street matter, I invite you to come up during this segment, because we're going to take it up right after this public comment section.
Doral Beasley. I have a question about the new process for sealing our roads. One of the first ones that I've driven on is the Saugatucket Road. Is this Saugatucket? The one that goes from the police station down toward, what is that road?
That is Saugatucket Road, Curtis Corner, and
Yeah,
108.
okay. Yeah. All right, so anyway, it's a totally different process than the towns used before, and I'm questioning it because the grit, previously we've used a process that had sort of a really small stone on top of the oil. And there were some problems with it only because, for some reason, the people that were applying it on our roads didn't look at the weather forecast, and the next day we had these monsoon rains, and then the stuff washed all away. So I don't know if that's the reason why you didn't use the same process now. But I don't know, this stuff doesn't even cover the crack seal. It's so thin. The crack seal, the crack seal stuff that we put on these roads, it shows right through. I don't know how long it's going to last. I don't know if you got a cut rate on it. I don't know anything about it, but it doesn't look very good to me anyway. Public comment. So I have a question. This question actually goes out to our local newspapers, the Narragansett Times and the Independent. For at least the last 3 years, I think it may be even longer than that, for some reason, those two newspapers never put in the paper any comments made by the public at town council meetings. Zero. I find it hard to believe. There are meetings that people have come up to this microphone and made statements with some serious weight to them. And those comments should be in the newspapers as part of the story about the town council meetings. But all we get today is a rehash of what you guys say. That's it. I'm in the process of writing a letter to the two papers, to the editors, because it's ridiculous. If people come up to this podium and say something that's got some weight to it, some validity, and it's germane to what you're talking about, those comments, as far as I'm concerned, have as much weight as what you said during the time that they're said. So those things need to be in the papers. I don't know what's going on. It's almost like somebody in town said, we don't want any comments from any public people, any public anymore about town council meetings. Who knows? Okay, so last thing. So I know it's in your the town council's hopes and wishes for the new year. It's that we want better performing schools. We don't have any 5-star schools. This past year we paid $30,000 per student. Our total budget for the school district was $68 million, was the exact same as Barrington. The only difference was we have 1,000 fewer students. But we never get any questions from the people up here to the school committee when the budget process comes as to why we give you all this money and nothing ever changes. Since you've been on the town council, Mr. McAdee, our cost per student has gone up 50%, and nothing's changed. We still have underperforming students.
Thank you, Doral.
Jen Nurbon. I wanted to address how you treated the public at the last meeting 2 weeks ago. Specifically you, Rory, and Mike, and Jay, who's not here. We regulars are used to the condescension, but last time there was a family here who didn't know your process. You talked down to them and you made them feel really small, and that is unacceptable. You represent all residents of South Kingstown. Their respect is not optional. Then came the $700,000 surplus. We overpaid, you knew it, and you gave us back only half. The rest you stashed away with no explanation. That's like a server keeping half of your change and walking away. You'd probably be angry, and you'd have a right to be. That's exactly how the town council treated the taxpayers' money. Earlier this year, the council set the property tax rate, $8.98 per thousand. It was a 3.37% increase. Weeks later, the tax assessor found the $700,000 in extra revenue. That was enough to drop the rate to $8.90, which would cut the increase down to 2.4%. When this information came out, one council member made a motion to adjust the rate. No one seconded it. No discussion. Instead, the majority voted 4-1 to give back only half the surplus. The rest was dumped into the already overfunded reserve account with no stated need or purpose. To some, the difference might seem small, but to a senior on a fixed income, every dollar counts. Many of our neighbors are already forced to choose between paying the heating bill and buying groceries. Returning the full surplus wouldn't have solved everything, but it would have been meaningful. And don't tell us it's just a cup of coffee. My assessment personally went up $150,000, so my home insurance jumped from $4,800 to $6,900 because of that increase in my assessment. That's not coffee, that's crushing families. That's a domino effect. You had the chance to do the right thing, and you didn't, and your silence told us exactly where we stand. And next year, when the $150 million school bond hits and no one ever talks about the interest on top of that, I won't be wondering where you stand. I'll be wondering if you even remember who put you up there. Will you serve the people who pay the bills or the system that spends them? If silence is your strategy, South Kingstown will remember, and so will the ballot box.
Thank you.
Good evening. Greetings to President McEntee, Town Manager Manny. Thank you for having us tonight. We have a few neighbors from Oak Street. My name is Jean Bowen, by the way. And there will be a few other neighbors that would like to make some comments tonight. Thank you for the opportunity to express and share my concerns about the development on Oak Street, Wakefield. The institutional structures that have been built at what is now 115 and 117 Oak Street are shocking and stunning. They are totally out of character for the neighborhood. I am aware that the Rhode Island legislature passed 30 housing bills this year. Much of it is designed to encourage builders to increase the housing stock in Rhode Island. I understand this is necessary, as we have an acute shortage of homes for all ages and affordability. However, the builder-developer took total advantage of this opportunity and instead designed a garish structure of modular units. It is a shocking misuse of the state's intention to offer deregulation for developers. To do this, the new legislative language does away with some of the transparency that neighbors have for input and timely comment. We lost our right to the notification of abutters to the property being developed, and where we could raise our concerns of size of the project, water runoff, and construction issues. This is not even close to being multifamily, as the zoning certificate authorized. This is, in fact, 2 duplexes with a total of 4 units. Each unit has 5 bedrooms, a sitting area, 2 bathrooms, and a kitchen. That is a whopping total of 20 bedrooms. 20 bedrooms. It does not look or will it become multifamily. In fact, we understand that it is built to house transient college students. 20 college students. Parking for 20 cars plus visitors will be a nightmare. Understand that we are and will be good neighbors to the occupants, but this arrangement is not what you asked for when you said we need more homes for families. My recommendation is that you authorize the planning department to notify future abutters and provide the funding for them to do that, since the state now won't require the builders to do it. I also recommend that you establish limits on time and days of the week that construction can take place. The noise this year has been stressful and disruptive to our enjoyment of Oak Street and our homes. We have experienced the Magnolia Drive expansion, the Holly Street development right behind us, and now the new building. I understand Jamestown limits building on weekends. Why can't we do the same? And last, I hope that you will all take a drive down Oak Street and take a look at this crazy building and take in the sight of these institutional buildings. I think you will be as stunned as we are. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I can just tell you that we have Sue Holly Vasquez to join us, Sue Kimmerline, Susan Driscoll. Not everybody on Oak Street is named Susan, but so Barbara Lima, and Ed Kimmerline.
Good evening. My name is Susan Holly Vasquez. My family has been here since the 1700s. My family donated the land on which Forest Fire Department on School Street now occupies. It cost $1 to the town. The building cost was covered by Robert Considine, the developer of Indian Run Village. So the fire station that houses 3 trucks cost the town approximately $740 for the sign and $1 for the land, and the developer paid for the construction of the place. The reason I mention this, folks in this area have done things to better the community. This has been a legacy of many people in this community. By abiding by this new building law, the town has ignored personal benefit and created problems that were never intended for these communities. I am not personally against development. I recognize this is a wonderful place to live, and I want to congratulate the DPW and the town manager for the various things that you have done, and the council for the ways you have been doing the very best you can. However, concentrating on the quality of life in the communities that exist is something that needs to be properly managed, and this was not. Please, please look into the planning regs, see what the town can offer, and I'll be quiet. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Susan Kimmerline. I live on Oak Street too. My house is immediately neighboring this development. And I think Jean spoke well about the context of the situation, and my neighbor Susan spoke nicely about the history. And I kind of want to speak about responsibility and maybe unforeseen consequences. I'm not well versed in the state changes that came down that kind of precipitated that this development's specifics weren't really brought to our attention. And it was really actually kind of just a slowly evolving thing of what happened when the Hollies were selling this property, and what we saw was going to be a single lot became a double lot, and then it was literally from workers on the construction site just within a week or so ago that we were hearing that these duplexes were actually going to be designed, or the design was for them to be rented out to URI students. Now, I'm a mom of 2 former URI students. I have nothing against them, but I think the town councils oversees the whole, building, planning, zoning departments, and I think, people were following the letter of the laws, but were lacking maybe the foresight, or not doing the homework, or not having the imagination to understand just what this was opening the door to. Our street is zoned RM, which is residential multi-household, I think is the wording. And in that language on the charts within the town council, the town's website, it specifies, for example, that RM zoning does not allow for dormitories, or rather sororities and fraternities. But I think the developer applied for and got approved for a duplex, 2 duplexes, which you anticipate 4 families, 4 households. And I know there's kind of history with Narragansett and the rentals there, and what the Supreme Court said, and what South Kingstown kind of opted not to pursue, that within a duplex you can have up to 5 unrelated individuals. So, by the letter of the law, these 4 duplex units can be rented out as individual rooms. Because basically, and that's where I see there's inconsistencies that develop, because if you guys look through the website, the town's website, and you read the definitions of rooming or boarding house, dormitory, institutional dormitory, you'll see that for all intents and purposes, if these 4 duplexes are rented to students, it kind of in essence becomes a dormitory, or a fraternity or sorority, or an institutional dorm. So I think that might not have been what people envisioned. It might not have been what the planning or the zoning or the building inspectors anticipated, but it's certainly what the developer seems to be planning and intending to do. I don't know if we have any system in place where the spirit of what we have in our ordinances, when it flies in the face of what the state law requires us to do, and then you end up with this discrepancy where you're trying to apply the law as Rhode Island has asked you to, but it kind of creates a structure that basically flies in the face of your very own ordinances. And I think that's a problem. I think there's a bigger issue where what the state has asked of towns and the purpose of creating more affordable housing, if it just basically opens up the door to a developer to create a structure that, like Jean said, is just really not in keeping with the vibe on that lot, and that person is now going to turn around and rake in maybe $20,000 from these students every single month. That doesn't seem to be in the spirit of what the state changes were intending. And even the discrepancy of just parking alone, we've heard, and I couldn't find it on the planning or the documents. We've heard that it will be approved for 16 parking spots. 16. If it was a traditional duplex with 4 families, your wording on the website says it would be 2 spots per unit, so that would be 8. If it was technically a rooming house or a tourist home or dormitory, I believe it could be either 2 per sleeping unit, which would be 20 times 2, which would be 40, or 1.5 spots per occupant, so that could be 30. We don't know how many spots are there, and again, it may be the train has left the station and the horse has left the barn, and I can see my time is up, but
We'll try to address some of these when we get to the item next.
okay, yeah, it's definitely created a lot of discrepancies that we're very concerned about. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Susan Driscoll, and my husband Hank and I purchased 125 Oak Street, which is just to the left of the development, last October, and we were very surprised and disappointed at the size of the development and the lack of communication. And we understand, as was previously stated, that there's been changes in state laws that the number of units that has been approved, and that there's no requirement from the state for communication with the butters. But we'd think that that maybe the town council would have something that would maybe provide some relief going forward for other situations where there would still be a requirement for some kind of communication. So I certainly support and understand the need for additional housing, but feel that the size and the design of these units seems, as people have said, to favor marketing to students rather than to more long-term members of the community. And it is more, I think, like student housing. And in my experience, I went to URI. Students like to try to get as many people into an apartment as they possibly can. So my question is there a legal limit to the number of people that can be in the unit? I think that there is. It can only be the number of bedrooms, so there can only be 5 per unit. And that I would request that a plan be put into place to ensure that that maximum number of tenants is not exceeded, because there's going to be a need to communicate to the tenants and to enforce that requirement, because I know it's a state law, but I know it gets broken everywhere by students. And sort of a question and a request that there be some sort of a site manager that both we and the town can communicate with about these kinds of issues. The other thing that I wanted to request is that the owners have some sort of a landscape planner put in trees and shrubs that could lessen the visual impact of such a large development, and have plantings that will be suitable for the site. My understanding is that it was, at one point, it was a farm pond, and there was a well there, still there when we purchased the property. There was a well on this site, so I think it's they do have requirements for managing their stormwater on site that are being addressed by a number of recharge zones and a number of swales. So I think it would be great to have someone who could weigh in on the type of plants that are planted so that they'll last, so that they don't get planted and aren't in the wrong place at the wrong time. And then also the issue of parking. We wanted to request that maybe there be some additional signage and enforcement of the no parking during school hours on Oak Street. I understand that there's no parking on Oak Street during school hours, but I think that there's maybe only one sign on one end of the street, and perhaps consideration for any additional relief if parking becomes an issue. As you were saying, we don't really know how many parking spaces are going to be and how many people will be there, etc. So yeah, I think that's all the points that that I had. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thanks for squeezing me in. I know it's close. Anyway, I'm sorry I missed the meeting prior to this one. And I'm ashamed to say that I don't even know why, because I don't miss meetings purposely. Why? Because I've made a pledge to myself to get up and speak a little bit about our situation in the country as a whole, But I do appreciate several things that have been said here in the last 20 minutes or so. I think the commentary about the news media and its lack of highlighting things is a very good one.
Bob, can you identify your name?
Pardon me?
Can you identify your name for the record? Your name is Bob Traeger. Can you
Yeah,
say
Bob
that?
Traeger.
There you go.
Oh, I didn't say that? I didn't think it was necessary. Sorry, I'm just kidding around.
There's a lot of new people.
I'm just fooling around, guys.
There's a
You
lot
know
of
that.
new people here, Bob.
Anyway, I'm not really fooling around, though. I'm going to just say a couple of things. I don't usually write anything down, but I know how my mind is, and it runs in circles sometimes. Well, we got a situation now in Washington, D.C., where we are seeing one of the initial, not the only one, it's already happened before, but where the police state is being initiated by our illustrious president. And because we have these major problems all over the country, in Chicago, in this city, in this city, and he's got the answer for it. And I wish he did, because he's not wrong about the problems. He's just wrong about the solutions. And it's amazing that we're going to have to sit back for 4 years of this if it keeps up, because we haven't even close to get to a year, and they haven't done anything, as far as I'm concerned, about due process yet that is meaningful and is publicly understood. I don't think it's been done. And so it goes on. These things are going on, and they're adding, and they're being added to. The judicial system is, we need laws. It was brought up here, it was talked about in this chamber today, about the necessity for laws. If you have a game, you play a game, you play any kind of game you could talk about. And there are rules and regulations to the game. Once in a while, games change their rules and regulations. I guess golf made some minor changes, a golf game maybe. Or if I play bridge a lot, so that's, there aren't too many changes, The rules are there for a reason. And unfortunately, we are allowing, as a nation, for rules to be broken, and we're not moving on it. Our legislators and our political elected officials are not moving on it. And I'm privileged because I'm 85. I got time, and I do. When I'm watching TV, I'm not watching a soap opera. I'm watching C-SPAN, and I'm watching and listening to the leaders of the world speak, and it's scary as hell what the world is allowing to happen in so many places. Sudan has just been brought up today. Okay, I'm gonna quit. I'm not gonna get going on that anymore. I happened to be watching last night, and I picked up on a very interesting, which was a repeat, I believe. A gentleman by the name of Robert George and Cornel West speaking about their new book. They're both Princeton professors for emeritus, I'm sure. And the name of the book is, and I'm going to leave it right here, Truth Matters.
Thank you, Bob.
You have to listen to 2 hours to get that.
All right, we're going to do one more speaker before we continue on to new business. And then if you haven't had a chance to speak, we're going to come back to you after we get through new business. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm Ed Kimmerline. I live at 97 Oak Street with my wonderful wife. We have lived there for 33 years and enjoyed every minute of it. My sister once described our house as the all-American house. We lived on Oak Street, between School Street and Main Street, and we had the 4th of July fireworks in our backyard, and we had the legendary Hollies as our neighbors. That seems to be changing a little bit, though. As you know, we have these duplexes now being built next door. We always knew that something would come into that lot next door. We can't think that it was going to remain vacant forever. But what now has caused me to be here is the fact that these units are going to be these 5-bedroom, small kitchen, 1 common area, basically rented out to URI students as dorms. Okay? Now, with that comes some of the following. At least 20 cars parked on the lots. 20 renters who will only be there for an academic year, and that involves moving in and moving out twice a year. The noise that comes with college renters, and the negative impact that these buildings will have on our property value as well as all of our neighbors. Okay? I know that everyone talks about the housing crisis and how the town needs to find ways to help young people afford to live in the town. I totally get that. We raised 4 children here who are now, as college-educated working professionals, who can't afford to buy a house in the very town that they grew up in. Building the dorms, and these are the words that the construction crews use to describe them, does not solve that problem. Selling these as individual-owned condos where the owner has equity and an inherent interest in the value and the upkeep of the property would better address the housing issue for young adults, because you're also giving these young adults a property that they can purchase. Renting dorm rooms does not. Now, I do have a couple questions, and this goes along with letters that I sent to all of you, and I would love to have answers to this, whether it be here or sent to me directly. But these are some of my very simple questions. Is this the direction that South Kingstown is going in? Is this what we want for our town? Would you right there, be comfortable with this type of unit being built right next door to your house? If in the town ordinances you specifically state that fraternities and sororities are not allowed, what is it about a fraternity or a sorority that the town is trying to avoid by outlawing them? The developer told us that they want to rent to college. If they rented to college students, they would only rent to female engineering students. Okay? I know you can't answer for him, but what are they trying to avoid by only renting to those students? I think we all know the answer. All of us, whether it be the town, by the way their ordinances restrict frats and sororities, or the developer stating that they would discriminate what type of student they would rent to, or all of us, the neighbors from Oak Street, showing up tonight are trying to avoid the obvious. And those are the issues that I mentioned earlier, including the noise from the college renters and the cars and the lots and all that. Okay? This type of college dorm housing does not belong in a quiet residential neighborhood such as Oak Street. Okay? If this is the direction that South Kingstown is going in, you might suggest that we sell our homes to a single family and add it to the inventory for younger families. Is this what the Hollies had and believed that they were doing when they were lied to by the developer who claimed his son would live at 125 Oak Street and he would build a house next door? Okay? If cashing in as much as one can on one's property is the driving trend, perhaps we and many of our neighbors will do just that. Add our homes to the URI Registry of Off-Campus Housing, rent out the homes to 2 to 5 students for $1,000 a person for 9 months of the school year. In our case, we would probably generate about $5,000 of income over 9 months. So that would be $45,000. We could then rent our homes to the summer renters for $2,000 a week or so, making another $16,000. Oak Street would then become the new eastward look. I don't think that's what South Kingstown wants. I don't think that's what people had in mind when they saw these kind of things being proposed. The town needs to pay very close attention. There's not much that can be done about this horse that's been let out of the barn, but South Kingstown needs to really take a look at where they stand, what they want for the future for this town, and what they can do to help its residents, all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Rory.
All right, we're now going to move on to
Do you just want to?
Go ahead.
Do you want to just see who else would want to speak? Because I feel like it's disjointed with Oak Street, and maybe we could just, if there's anyone ask, only take, so that we
If
have
you're
all
here
the
for
time.
Oak Street and you haven't spoken yet and you wish to come on up, come on up.
I just feel like they're all together, and then Should we not answer their questions?
We're going to address the
Okay.
questions when we get to the item.
Hello, my name is Meredith Masson, and
Mark
Mark.
Masson.
Our daughter Holly lives right across the street from this. If you haven't seen it, looks like a Fairfield Inn that belongs on Route 1. It's not funny.
I'm sorry.
I don't think it's funny. My daughter, I am here speaking for her now because she is going through some serious issues, and she couldn't bring herself to this right now. She lives directly across the street from this. This is her new vision she looks at. We were born and brought up in this town. We have 10 generations or more of our families in this town. When I was a little girl, I lived on Main Street. I still live on the top of Main Street. My mom, my sister, my brother all lived on Oak Street for many, many years. My sister moved up on the top of Main Street now. She has a beautiful Sugarloaf bed and breakfast. I mean, my family, Mark, us as Massons, my last name was Kavanaugh. I lived right on Main Street. I used to have tons of friends on Oak Street when I was little. And where this is built is called on the Pollywog Pond, where we used to ice skate. I mean, I am just extremely upset right now for Sue Holly, too, what she's going through. Her family were the most genuine people in this town, genuine, and did so much for everyone. And just like the fire station for $1 and everything. And I mean, to allow something like this to be put up where it's going to be rented to 20 college kids, like Ed said, would I'm not pointing, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that, want this next door to you? Like I said, my daughter, here is her home, and directly across the street, this is her new vision. And you have 20 college kids that are gonna live in this place, and you know what that's gonna happen. Everyone has a boyfriend and a girlfriend, so you're gonna have 40. I mean, I'm sorry, I am so disappointed in this town for letting this happen. I mean, and this person who said in the beginning what he was gonna do, he's totally changed it around. I mean, our whole lives, my children, my grandchildren, everyone, our lives is South Kingston. I've been in business 49 years, and I still am. I have served everyone, done everything. This is not fair to my daughter, who's going through some serious issues, and all these people that live on Oak Street. When I was younger, or even up to now, it's like, if you bought a house or you lived on Oak Street, that was pretty good, because that literally was the most pristine street in town, that everyone loved that street. But I just can't even imagine what this is going to be, a hellhole. You're going to have beer cans, you're going to have drinking. My daughter, in front of her house, I don't have to explain this. Everyone knows what 20 to 40 to 60 college kids are going to do. The traffic and everything up and down that road, and I mean, just parking on that road. Even the UPS guy said to me, what in the hell is this town thinking? You get a place like that, you put that many people like in that place, 20 college kids, like I say, which is totally going to be 40 or more, and you have cars both sides. He goes, you're not even going to be able to get cars down that road. What? I just don't understand. I'm so disappointed. I'm so upset. I feel so bad to even say I'm a South Kingston resident now. All the time and the money and generational that we have put into this town. Where else is there another place like this in Wakefield in a beautiful street? Where? It's not. Is there? Right? I mean, you all know how hard it is to work. I know how hard it is to work. I work 7 days a week. I'm 70 years old. I love my job, my business. I love people. I do what I do. Everything I do, I own a flower shop, it's an emotion. It's an emotion. And that's why since I was 21, I have given my life to this. People go, why don't you retire? And before all this happened, I said, because I love South Kingston. This is our home. This is my life. I've put my whole life into this. And then now something like this happens right on Oak Street, right across the street from my daughter's house. I don't understand. I don't know. I'm so disappointed. So disappointed. And it's so hurtful for me to say how disappointed I am in this town. I'm sorry.
All right, we understand the frustration. You are well over
It's more,
the 5.
it's-
We're just going to allow others who wish to speak, who haven't spoke yet, an opportunity to speak. Then we're going to get to this item and try to flesh it out the best we can.
Yeah, okay. And I just want to let you know, one of my best customers is your dad.
Well, all right.
This is Massa. Just to be clear, I was laughing at the comment about Fairfield Inn because I thought it was perfect. When I got the emails about this, I went to the town, went to the road. I could not believe the size of it. It's jarring.
In the beginning, this person was supposed to do 4 townhouses.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to try to flesh this out the best we can. If you're going to speak, you got to go right
You're not
there.
on the microphone, and then the public can't hear you.
Okay. I have people that come into my store, and you wouldn't believe how many people bring this up to me. You wouldn't believe how many people that come to my store from the hospital, different places in town, different businesses, professional people who said, I would give anything to buy one of those townhouses. And that's what was supposed to go in there. I mean, seriously, anyone can envision 20 college kids in a beautiful neighborhood, which, you know, I don't know. But like the town really is in a uproar about this. And I tell you, at least 3-4 times a week, I have customers that are coming in and they're like, what in the hell is going on? How can that even be? Like you said, the best thing to say, and like with what Ed said, do you want that next to your house? Do you want that? I mean, you work so hard for everything. Insurance, taxes, mortgages, your kids, your grandkids, your everything, your whole life. And like, I mean, and have that for your, you know, for you can't even have any peace, which you totally won't with that. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I live
Come on
on
up.
Oak Street. My name is Janet Hanley Greenberg. Okay. My name is Janet Hanley Greenberg, and I bought one of the Holly's lots. I bought 0 School Street, which is now 124 Oak Street. I was told they were going to live in the house. The lot was going to be a single-family home. So I built my house around that, cost-wise, to stay there. I've lived here before. I've lived off of Pond Street. I went through hell in a handbasket getting a 2.5% variance on Winchester Drive in 2020 with an attorney. For him to be able to just throw that up, a mobile home, a trailer, you can call it a modular home, but I have put landscaping, a custom house I built. My building permit took 4 months. This guy got it like that. He tried to come in and buy my lot from under me. The child that is out there that says he's the real estate agent, that is the owner, is not. His father is the owner, Hayes, Ken Hayes, and an investor. You might want to go back while we're talking about discrimination and his wife, Jessica. Nick is the realtor's name. And if we all know about discrimination, his wife wrote, and it's on record, we all have a copy of it, she wrote a letter to the General Assembly wanting to do short-term rentals. You can look it up and read it. She said if we did not do short-term rentals, yada, yada, and I'm paraphrasing, we would turn South Kingston into a retirement community. Is there a problem with that in this town? Is there a problem that we can henpeck? I was a property manager for 20-plus years. You don't get to decide who you rent to. You have qualifications, period. He's over there saying he owns it, his father owns it, he lives on Oakwood, he doesn't live on Oakwood, he's building a house in Rockland. He has a plot of land over there. As far as the noise, I had my builder, and I'm sure you're all very aware who my builder was, not work on Sundays, limited late Saturday. They were hardly ever there on Saturday. But they weren't banging at 7 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, 24 hours after I got back from Arlington Cemetery in Virginia burying my father. You didn't get a call from the neighbor, your neighbor who's going through hell in a handbasket, saying there are trailers sitting in front of the house. Can I park in your driveway? I said, what is going on? The night before your father's funeral, who served this country and worked for the State Department. I could do nothing. I have people walking on my property. There's a tree, a guy looking in my window. He was one of your town people, the highway division, and he looked in my window, in my door. I did not answer the door. I tried to call the non-emergency police department number here in South Kingston, and it was a recording. We all know we cannot call 911 from out of state. But to find out that I put all this money in there, into a sweet street, a lot of great neighbors, established neighborhood, and we're going to have dorms across the street. I lived in Narragansett. I put up with that while I was renting and building my home. None of this is funny. Not even the Fairfield end is funny. None of it. So what about my property values? What about our peace of mind? You don't want us to come retire here? Is that what this Nick Hayes and Jessica Hayes are saying? She's a social worker. She knows better. She's a realtor. Don't we all know the law? Discrimination laws? You don't get to handpick who you put there. But you say no sorority houses, and that's what you're putting across the street for me and all of my neighbors. And you should, it's disgusting that it got put through so quickly when my builder took forever to get my permit. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anyone else in the audience who came for Oak Street who wasn't yet spoken, I invite you to come on up. All right, seeing none, we're going to move right to the item here. We're going to move up consent agenda, item 6C. We're going to consolidate with that with new business 10H. We're going to bring up Planning Director Jamie Rabbit. We're going to bring up the building official Jamie Gorman. We're going to have Rich Bourbonnais on standby here if we need him. And Mike, I think it makes sense to just start with a summary of the changes in the Rhode Island law that sort of led us to this here. Go ahead.
So as you know, one of the goals of the Speaker of the House has been to increase affordable housing here in the state. I think most of the speakers here totally understand and appreciate that. Where the issue comes down to is there's just no way to discriminate between a college student, a family, et cetera. Some of the changes that were made are number one, by state law, and unfortunately the town is now bound by this. You can have up to 5 unrelated persons in one dwelling unit, and this particular contractor took advantage of that, and that's why it was built as 5. In the zone on Oak Street that these units were built, duplexes are allowed as of right, as long as you meet the various requirements for area and setbacks, et cetera. And so this developer was able to do what he did because he met all those requirements. There have been a lot of changes to the law, which the town of South Kingstown and the residents of every other town and city in the state of Rhode Island now have to abide by. And the first of those involves the definition of a minor subdivision. It used to be that a major subdivision, it is now that a major subdivision is defined as a subdivision that proposes 10 or more buildable lots where a street creation or extension is required. If the subdivision requires zoning relief in the form of a variance or a special use, the subdivision requires waivers from design standards, and the subdivision requires a new street or an existing street. Unless any one of those 4 requirements are not met, these new minor subdivisions are approved as of right. So it's up to 10 units with no requirement for zoning relief. That's a big difference from what it used to be. So this is what the new law states. We're going to do our best to apply those standards as strictly as possible so that we can avoid situations like this. However, at least with regard to Oak Street, and I know Jamie has more to say about this, those units met all of the town's requirements, and we cannot stop students from going there, or for that matter, for anyone's house. But anyhow, I'll let Jamie pick up from there.
Yeah, I think Attorney Arcello set the baseline for what we're dealing with, given changes to legislation. To Attorney Arcello's point, there are changes in the legislation in Rhode Island law as it relates to subdivision. This one came in as a 2-lot minor subdivision, which under Rhode Island law is handled administratively. It was reviewed. We did, as the administrative officer, being the planning director, we did run it through the TRC, which is our technical review committee. The TRC made recommendations associated with storm drainage. So the approvals from the administrative officer were conditioned upon the developer submitting an approvable drainage plan to deal with no net increased stormwater runoff. So if council members have been to the site, you're seeing a home that's slightly elevated, and there's a lot of storm drainage that will surround that house, and both units, actually, the southern and northern unit. So Mr. Arcello's point, the legislation changed with regards to 5 unrelated people. We also don't have regulations that limit bedroom number. So if someone wanted to build a home with 20 bedrooms, as long as they could supply water and accommodate the effluent from the site, whether on-site or through municipal systems, we have no limitations on bedroom size. The only aspects we have is, in this instance, dimensional regulations. So as long as they meet the side yard setbacks, the front yard setbacks, any lot coverage issues, they take care of their stormwater, they take care of their water to the site via, and again, there's municipal water, municipal sewer here. As long as they take care of those things, don't violate building height, we can't control who is in there, who they rent to, so long as there are no more than 5 unrelated people. There are aspects, some clarifications with regards, why is this considered a dorm, or why is this a frat, a sorority? It's a 5-bedroom residential unit. There are not individual bathrooms associated with each one. There's 5 bedrooms, 2 and 3. There's a common kitchen area, a common living room, and bathrooms that support the bedrooms. So they're not 5 independent bedrooms, en suites, with bathrooms in all of them. It's 5 bedrooms with 2 full baths to accommodate the residential uses. We don't know, as a regulatory authority, who they're going to rent to, whether it's a family, a group of 3 brothers with 2 friends. We don't know, nor can we issue permits based on that? So, that's where we are, and those are parameters we had to work from. On the permitting side, as I mentioned, it came through as a 2-lot subdivision. That's what the planning department's responsibilities are, to determine whether the lot size is sufficient to support the residential development. When we review these projects, they're not required to show us floor plans. They're required to show us a footprint and basic size of a home so we can accommodate the stormwater as it relates to runoff. We can accommodate grading to support the unit. But once the lots are approved, applicants have certain uses as of right, which Mr. Orsello said. So once the lot was created, they have a right to do a duplex, so long as they meet the dimensional requirements contained in the zoning regulations, which is overseen by the Building and Zoning Department, which is Jamie Gorman to my right and your left. We understand what the community is saying tonight. We understand what their concerns are, but we don't have the regulations that exist to prevent this. And it's not just that we can't adopt the regulations to prevent this. State law potentially runs in a direct collidence with something you may want to do versus what state law says and then what the fair housing laws say.
Thank you, Jamie. Go ahead.
Can we go through with Mike some of the questions that were raised by the neighbors, starting with Jean, because some of these ideas sound like they're worth pursuing. Do we have a limit on hours of construction? And is there anything in the new state package that prevents us from doing that?
Go ahead, there's a
Whoever
noise ordinance.
can answer.
Go ahead.
Yeah, in the town ordinance, the hours of construction activities are limited Monday through Friday. They're allowed between 7 a.m. and 9 p.m. Weekends are going to be 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. and then no construction allowed on holidays.
Can we change those to include no construction on Sundays?
Yeah, it's in an ordinance.
It's an ordinance.
You can make changes to your ordinance, and you'll hear from the community with regard to any such changes. But I will note that your noise ordinance times are very similar to what exists throughout the state.
Is there any
and because that, just so I can finish, if, for instance, you were to come up with something that said no construction activities on a Sunday, that could apply to a homeowner with a skill saw who's outside on a Sunday sawing some 2x4. So it would definitely require a lot of thought and figure out what all the consequences are. But having said that, we do have 7 to 9 and 7 to 6 timelines. If neighbors are hearing construction or other noise prior to 7 a.m. in the morning, they should be contacting town officials because we can enforce that noise ordinance prior to 7 in the morning or after evening hours, whether it's a weekend or not.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So I just have a bunch of basic questions at first to go through the timeline. So from what I gather, the Holly Trust, because I'm looking at vision and all these things, sold the property in 2024 to whomever, I don't want to say who they are, and they told the Holly Family Trust that they were going to build a single-family home. Is that accurate? Okay. That's your understanding. Okay. I get it. So they misrepresented it, and I get it. So, and I have always had this fear about what development's going to be like as a result of these law changes. I hear what you're saying because I think we're about 20 years behind Narragansett, and we don't want South Kingstown. I feel like the people I talk to don't want South Kingstown to become the next Narragansett and Eastwood because I think it's already creeping our way. So that timeline happened, and then when did he come? When did whomever come to you? And when was TRC? I didn't have a date on that.
I have the date for approval by myself as the AO in February 2025, so TRC potentially December 2024 or January 2025. I don't have the exact date.
Okay, so
But that
6 months ago.
approval that was granted by the AO required them to solidify their drainage calculations and have the town engineer approve the final design,
Okay.
which occurred somewhere between February and the issuance of building permits by the zoning department.
And when was that?
So there's 4 building permits issued, 1 for each unit, June 2nd, 2025.
Okay, June 2nd, 2025. So my next question is, the lot is, according to what I'm looking at, is .37 of an acre?
Each lot is just over 16,000 square feet, totaling just over 32,000, which is roughly 3/4 of an acre.
The original lot size that was sold was 3/4 of an acre?
The original lot size that was sold was just over 32,000 square feet. An acre is 43,560 square feet. So,
Okay.
30 to 35,000 is 3/4 of an acre.
Okay, so they divided it in half, it's about 1/4 of an acre,
Two 16,000
Two
square foot
16,000.
plus or minus lots.
which isn't very big. And then how are they fitting, and they've demonstrated this, I'm assuming this is, you're going to say yes, that 10 cars, there are 10 parking spaces off-street for each of the 2 duplexes?
Under the subdivision regulations, we look at setbacks, building footprint, and that's the role of the subdivision. When someone's subdividing the property, they're basically determining the feasibility and ability to construct.
The house
It
part?
doesn't necessarily, so they could show us a square
Mhm.
on a piece of property
Yep.
that was 800 square feet as a footprint, to show that they have the ability within their setbacks to accommodate residential development. That's what they need for the subdivision. After a subdivision's approved, they can apply for building permits that are different than the subdivision, because
Right.
now they're approved building lots. We're reviewing them from a code standpoint of buildability as it relates to the code. So
Right.
they can show us something smaller than they intend to build in the long. It happened, we review 20 lot subdivisions all the time, and they have these cute little 1,000, 1,200 square foot footprints, and we understand on 1 acre lots, they end up being 24, 36, 4,000 square foot homes. That's not what they need to get through the subdivision process.
But the parking spaces, where do they get approved or outlined on the lot space?
They got, after AO approval, as part of the storm drainage evaluation, they showed more detail associated with parking
Mhm.
in order to be able to go through the calculations of storm drainage. But again, those are regulatory reviews on where they're located and whether storm drainage can be accommodated. They're not they don't trigger landscaping requirements for single-family or duplex. We only trigger landscaping when we get into larger developments beyond duplexes. And that's some of the issues with the code. The code doesn't have architectural standards for single-family homes. They don't have landscape standards for single-family homes. And duplexes under the regulations are treated as, in essence, a similar type of single-family home or residential unit where landscaping architectural standards do not kick in.
Okay. So he didn't have to demonstrate that he could fit 10 cars in the surplus area beyond what
Under
he's...
the zoning code, I believe, Ms. Corman, two spaces per unit for a total of 4.
What?
Yeah, so just to clarify, not at the time of subdivision, that didn't have to be depicted on the plan, but for the building permit application, each unit needs to provide at least 2 parking spaces. They did provide a plan showing crushed stone pervious parking to accommodate up to 5 parking spaces, so they exceeded the code requirement.
Sorry, Patty sent me a picture of it, so thank you, but it's 5 units per duplex, 5 spaces per, tell me again?
2 are required by ordinance per unit, and they provided 5 per unit.
2 provided per unit is 8, but there is you have to have 2 per unit, but they're showing 5 per unit, which
Correct.
is 20.
So this is 2 separate lots altogether. We're adding up now.
10 and 10.
Correct.
Yep.
So they meet the requirement, they exceed the requirements of the 2 minimum. So as long as they meet the minimum, there is really, that's what we're looking for.
So by the opposite, so they only have to provide 2 per unit.
Correct.
Which would be 4 and 4. But they could say, oh, we could, 25, we could, if they could provide as many as they wanted, there's no limit to
Yeah.
where the parking, like there's no,
Well, for stormwater purposes, yes. I mean, they're going to have to show how they're going to manage that, but can't say that I've ever seen 25 spaces on a single or 2-family, but potentially, yeah.
I know, it's just, and then, I know. I totally get what you're saying. And a significant other and a friend visiting, and you have no, and I get it.
Is it possible that the builder would be allowed to build more of these units on that property? Because there's a rumor that, or he's going and telling people that he can build up to 5 of those. And so I want to know if that's true.
Without doing a full regulatory review, I think standing here before you tonight, and Mr. Gorman can hopefully agree, that these sites, from a stormwater management perspective, are fairly maximized with regards to development potential. What you see as a lot is basically a driveway, parking area, foundation, building, and the rest of the lot is stormwater treatment. So if you added any additional structures, you would have to modify the stormwater treatment. And I don't, without doing the math, I don't know what the calculations would be, but you in all likelihood don't have the square footage to accommodate additional pervious areas because you don't have enough, you don't have enough ability to add impervious areas or more rooftop without having more capabilities to remove stormwater, and they're fairly tight with regards to their ability to manage stormwater. So there's not a lot of excess room on this site, but that's without doing an in-depth analysis.
Our current regulations have a floor for parking, minimum 2 per unit.
They don't have a maximum.
Is there any reason that we couldn't have a maximum?
I don't see why we couldn't have a maximum, but you would want that to, that max, if you're going to set it, it would have to, I would recommend it would have to float with the number of units that are allowed. Because, for instance, if you have a 10-unit condo or something, you need to have enough parking spaces.
Right, but I'm wondering if it's possible to limit it by the unit and not by the number of beds.
Yeah,
so
what we can't do is we can't go around the law by devising other ways to prevent something which is legally allowable to not be allowable. For instance, by saying if you must have, just pick 5 parking spaces, but we're not going to allow you to do that, to force you to have only 4 bedrooms. We can't do that. But anything is open for, the residents here have brought to your attention a serious problem. And there's no question that no one would want to have to deal with this. So
right.
We can look at all kinds of options going forward.
What are can we change the zoning?
Yes, you can change. Yes, right now, that whole area is zoned multifamily, correct? It's a
But to Patty, I think what Mr. Arcelo is telling you, in the scenario if a developer wanted to do this, and again, we have the rule of 5 unrelated people, But if the legislature all of a sudden changes that and says you can't say unrelated people can't live together, someone would just build a single-family home with 10 bedrooms.
Right.
And multiple bathrooms and maybe even 2 kitchens, because we don't limit the number of kitchens in a house. We just deal with that based on the size of the homes. There are a lot of larger homes in town who have multiple kitchens.
But we could, the council, after getting recommendations from the planning board, can always look at zoning changes. Of course, they'd be prospective, obviously, can't go backwards. And just so you know, when you make a zoning change, anyone who's presently there is grandfathered in. You can't force them. Again, it has to be thoughtful. You need to look at an area. You'd want to see maybe an overlay or an overview of how many developer lots there are in a particular neighborhood before you start making those decisions.
That's why I'm trying to pursue these questions, because we're working our way through the rental registry ordinance.
Yes.
We are, a few months out. I think it's like 3 more months before we get the recommendations from planning on the zoning package from 24.
Right, we haven't caught up yet with the 25.
Exactly. So there's this ongoing process that the council's going to be asked to review a whole bunch of these statutes. This clearly is a crisis situation that we may not be able to do anything about, but we need to do something for the town to regulate this going forward.
Yeah, we can't really have people surprised by 10 unit places in their neighborhood.
So I just wanted to say one thing. First of all, we all have the ability to use our voice and free speech and advocate to our representative. I'm not sure, I'm not in that district, so I don't know if you have Representative Tanzi or you have Representative McEntee. You have Tanzi, so I would be contacting Teresa Tanzi. I know, because going forward, if there's tweaks to the law, because I always look at this and you say, I have a happening where I'm living is people are starting to build ADUs, and it's great that somebody down the street is building an ADU, but if everybody on my street also builds an ADU, we increase the population of the town and traffic, right? And I bet you would trade all day long for an ADU on Oak Street, right? But we all are going to have the implications of the effects of these laws. We're not going to like what the town looks like because it's going to be bigger, louder, messier. So first we need to advocate to our reps that this law sort of affects where we live and how it is, because it's just one bad example of, it sounds like a good idea until you build that, what Patty just shared was a huge building, and I guess I'm amazed that it's modular. That's why it could happen in 8 weeks. So I guess he's trying to open it for August. I mean, he can't be trying to open it now, right? He is? He's trying to lease it? Yeah. And then what you see happening, the bigger picture is everybody's lot becomes this cash cow, because Mr. Kimmerline does the math and he shows you that we could knock down anything and create something that's generating $50,000 or $75,000 in income, and then our town doesn't become what we grew up thinking it would be. So that's also, every lot becomes a capitalist adventure space that could warp, and that worries me too. The only thing we can do is try to advocate and explain to the legislators how this impacted us. Maybe there's some tweaks, and then I think we need to look at maybe some zoning, or we need to look at changing the hours. I think the hours are kind of onerous, but so we did,
So we can address that via noise ordinance,
Yeah.
extra enforcement by police officers.
we did recently adjust the noise ordinance to allow for, because the noise ordinance began at 10 o'clock at night, and college students have
Those
daytime parties.
unruly gatherings ordinance.
Yeah, unruly.
So that would specifically apply to those situations.
So you're not on the
All
microphone,
right,
so we
we're
can't
not,
talk
we're
to
not
you.
going to engage in
'cause-
the back and forth. I do
because-
want to get us back
Yeah, that's
once
fair.
you finish, I want to say something here.
So I just want to say, we would certainly always want to talk to you, but if we talk to you, you're not on the microphone anyway, so then all the people who are watching at home don't understand and get frustrated. So that's also why we don't want to chat with you this way. Go ahead, sorry, Rory.
All right. So I have a few thoughts here. Number one, obviously we're constrained to the extent that Rhode Island law changed a lot of these housing laws, zoning laws, allowing for more density, more streamlined process by which builders and developers can build more housing. And we're seeing, what's happening on Oak Street as an example of that. Not only is the builder using or exploiting the new law to their advantage, they appear to be exploiting potential gaps in the town's zoning, ordinance, and other building codes. I agree with some of the discussion here. We should, vet out, potential opportunities where we can sort of close some of those loops. Because if this is happening here as just like a, for example, instance of what is a result of the new housing laws, there are a lot more to come. And some of the residents have asked, is this what we want our community to be? Obviously we want more housing. A lot of us emphasize, a lot more housing for young professionals, for more affordable for people that, live medium income type jobs to be able to live here. But we don't want to see projects like this pop up all over town. So I hear you, and I'm with you on that. But now it's on us to sort of do what we can to fill any gaps, find any sort of areas that can be exploited that we haven't addressed. We don't want to be in a position where we're passing ordinance that are in direct conflict with state law. Any ordinance that we pass that is in contrast to Rhode Island law, we are preempted by, would have no force. So I do not want to go that far with it. But obviously, there are some gaps here, as I've said, and we need to figure that out. So hopefully we can, direct the planning department to work with the planning board to find any potential loose ends, holes in our zoning ordinance code that could, prevent future projects like this across town.
I would potentially suggest that we work with legal counsel on discussing the regulatory gaps that may exist based on changes in the regulations and how you can potentially close those gaps so that development more closely relates to the type and style of development you want to see in town. I mentioned earlier, these duplexes, we don't have landscaping codes associated with duplex constructions. You don't have architectural standards or how a duplex is placed on the lot and how the lot is utilized. Those all require more regulatory thought, and then that thought could, to your point, Mr. McEntee, could run directly against what the Rhode Island legislature is trying to accomplish. And I think the initial discussions with legal and the planning department at the staff level on are there any ways to deal with this on the regulatory side, and then use the planning board as a sounding board for those potential regulatory changes before they come back with a discussion with council.
One thing maybe we could do very easily is put up some more no parking signs and enforce it vigorously.
Go ahead. We had also consolidated consent item C with this, and I wanted to ask Mike, as I read that item, it seems to me that we don't have a lot of discretion to deny that. It involves that, I assume, that property, because it says Oak Street, but it's about putting up the pole and Rhode Island Energy and I think Verizon.
Yeah, that's the installation of the joint poles for electricity, et cetera. You really don't have the discretion to deny pole placement unless it poses a public safety hazard, traffic hazard or something along those lines. These are very routine. The only reason they come to you is because they're on town land, and that's why they even come to you in the first place. But for you to deny the construction or erection of a utility pole, it can only be on grounds of this is going to be a traffic hazard, someone's going to get hurt. And based on the memo, that's not the case here.
Thank you.
So I don't really know. I just want to go back to this, there's not much we can do thing, but is there anything we can do with lot size, lot usage to sort of restrict? Because, I mean, that looks huge. It looks huge in a picture. So is there, and then if they're consuming, using 80, 90% of the lot for all their things, is there a way to do it that way?
Yeah, I think, working with Mr. Orsillo's office, there are multiple tools that are potentially accessible to us in a toolbox. We're exploring some of them with the form-based code. You could expand a form-based code to a duplex type scenario where duplexes are okay under a set of circumstances, that the form, size, density is in relationship with the size of the lot, so that the building doesn't overwhelm a small lot. We have another duplex going in town that is taking the appearance of a modern farmhouse. They're two units, 3 bedrooms. It's located just north of the police station on 108. If you drive by it quickly, it takes on the appearance of a single-family home. That was a choice of a developer working with the planning department who we spoke to and said this was a good idea. I'll try it and I'll do that. And they liked the net result of the product as looking more single-family home. But again, they're 3 bedrooms. There's a total of 6 there. There are parking spaces. Some are pervious and some are impervious. But we could, if the council liked that style of development more, we potentially could model some regulatory changes to drive a particular type of product. And it's just, I think sometimes when you just look, and this is what we're dealing with the form-based code, if you just look at the dimensional aspects, meet a side yard setback, meet a front yard, rear yard.
You get that.
You leave a lot of interpretation to what happens inside the box. I think towns generally have always been hesitant to develop regulatory standards for single-family and duplex family homes. I think it's almost sacrosanct in every community I've worked in that you don't do single-family homes, any structural architectural standards. But again, once you get beyond that, some communities, because what you're looking at is more infill.
Right,
and
but
the infill becomes more impactful on established neighborhoods.
But the law, when the law changed to allow 5 people, a duplex became a 5-bedroom property. Most duplexes, probably prior to that, were 3 bedrooms, and not that. So the law, so that's when you say that we didn't address duplexes in terms of size, we kind of were, because most of them weren't, now by right, they all can be 5 bedrooms. So we do need to address how duplexes are built. Yeah.
So there's a lot of complexities related to all this that are not at our fingertips. This is certainly something that Mike Orsillo and his office should work collaboratively with planning director and the planning board as to potential strategies that could reduce the probability of developments like this all across town. And I'd like to see what recommendations you have for us, and then at a subsequent meeting we could take those up, potentially have a notice for a public hearing, and take up changes at a public hearing.
I'm in no shape, way, or form proposing to eliminate the planning board, but
No.
there's an initial step that I think needs to take place with legal on what we can do before we head down a path of working for 2 or 3 weeks just to be told by legal,
You can't do
we
that.
gotta undo what we did.
Yeah,
Right,
absolutely.
right.
Absolutely.
So I just wanted to make sure that everyone here, this is the only meeting we're going to have in August. We'll meet in September because they typically don't meet the last Monday. So it's going to take a couple of meetings for us to even come back with any information. What'd you say, Jamie? More than a couple?
A
couple of meetings. So we want you to stay with us. I mean, I believe in advocacy, and I think that people should be standing up here because you are going to make change for the community. It doesn't sound like Oak Street's going to get what you need, but I think you're going to make the town that you've all said you love maybe better.
All right. Nope, we're done with public comment. We're going to move on. I think we've discussed this at length. We appreciate all your interest, your concern. We have the similar concern, and we think we at least have a path forward to address any future developments. Do I have a motion on item 6C?
Motion.
We're done with public comment. Do I hear a motion on 6C?
Motion to approve item 6C.
We have a motion. Is there a second? I'll second it. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, that passes. It's going to move us now back to new business. Item 10A. Terry Murphy, come on up.
Good evening, Terry Murphy, Director of Leisure Services. Item 10A is requesting council consideration for authorizing approximately $947,000 out of the Neighborhood Guild Income Accumulation Fund to support the costs associated with infrastructure improvements at the Neighborhood Guild. As you may recall, our capital improvement program over the past several years has had the Guild infrastructure improvement projects listed in the CIP. We do have bond funding in the amount of approximately $800,000. I think it's a little bit more than that. The next item on the agenda is also directly related to this, and it has to do with awarding of a contract for the infrastructure improvements. What this is asking is for council to authorize $947,000 from the Neighborhood Guild Income Accumulation Fund, and that is the fund that is utilized annually when the council considers the Neighborhood Guild operating budget. Funds come from that income accumulation fund to support the operating costs of the Neighborhood Guild. Over the years, that fund has accumulated over $1 million. It's at about $1.2 million now. Because the Guild operating costs have not utilized all of the money that gets drawn down annually, which is 3.5% of a rolling 5-year average of the market value of the Neighborhood Guild endowment. This fund can only be used for the Neighborhood Guild, and as you know, it is a beloved institution within this town. We need a building if we're going to continue the legacy of the Neighborhood Guild and the hazard contribution to the town of South Kingstown. So what this is asking is for consideration of $947,000 to support the project of improving the infrastructure of the Neighborhood Guild.
All right, thank you, Terry. Any questions?
Just really simply, so the 947,249 is coming from the trustees school fund?
Yes, and that's not a question. Is that the only question?
That's my first question. Is that what you explained the whole thing and the interest and you draw down, blah, blah? Is that where you're taking the money from?
That's correct. And we did, finance director and I did attend the school trustees meeting, and they also support the use of these funds for this purpose, which is noted in the memorandum in front of you.
So, okay. So the school trust funds and the audited balance of June 30th, 2024, $24 million.
Yes, that's the entirety of the fund, and I'm certain I have the finance director right here who can provide more detail, but that is the entirety of the fund, not just the Guild endowment. The Guild fund is at approximately $22.7 million as of June 30th.
Oh, and the difference is all those other little minis? Okay.
Correct.
So you have about $22 million and you're going to take $1 million from it?
Yes, but to be clear, the income accumulation fund is separate from the endowment, so we're not touching the endowment itself. And if you want more information on that, I'll hand it off to Brian.
No, we're good. I'm fine.
Any other questions on this? Good.
No?
Yeah, I do want to just walk through that just a bit because it is a little confusing. I read the memo. The funds overall that you were just discussing are sort of lumped as the school funds,
Correct.
but this particular amount of money is dedicated just to the Guild.
That's correct.
Okay. So if you said just shy of 1.2, in the memo it was 1.187, you take the 947 that you're looking at and you'll still have a balance of 240.
Yeah, I'm sorry? Yeah.
Those funds are committed already for the debt service payments on the bond for the Guild.
The 240?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so that's going to clean it out. The 1.18 is from income generated by the use of the Guild building?
Sure. So on an annual basis, as Terry mentioned, the town draws down 3.5% of the 5-year rolling average of the Guild Fund, which represents about 90% of the total trustees' funds, as mentioned, about $22 million.
Yep.
Of that 3.5%, that goes into this income accumulation. The Guild then draws down for operations from that.
Okay.
We've had a few years in a row where we haven't drawn the full amount, and we've accumulated this amount.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, do I hear a motion on this item?
Motion to approve item 10A.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, that passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mark Russo, we got 2 here for you.
Yes, good evening. So before you tonight, we have 2 very exciting projects. The number one is now the Neighborhood Guild. The building originally built in 1909. It was a place to train women and children in sewing and woodworking and cooking and such. And believe it or not, 116 years later, it's still doing that now. So, fast forward to 1996, we did a renovation in the building, and that was 30 years ago. I started work at the Guild in 1998, back in the 1900s, I like to call it.
I've heard of those times, Mark.
Yes. So that was 30 years ago. The building is in serious need of exterior renovations. We've patched the roof a few times. The chimney's falling down. The front end of the front alcove of the building needs to be totally rebuilt. So with a new roof and wood refinishing and repainting, a new cupola on the gymnasium, and also the windows. We're going to revitalize the windows, the existing ones, not replace them. A good friend of mine, Keith Lescarbeau from APCOR, he says, revitalize, don't replace. That's, to keep the history of the building. We are going to install new storm windows on the building to increase the energy efficiency. With that, the resolution is to award a contract to Dubon Masonry Construction, LLC of East Greenwich, for the Neighborhood Guild Rehabilitation Project in an amount not to exceed $1,532,300, including a contingency.
All right, thank you, Mark. Any questions on this one?
Nope.
Motion to approve item 10D.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that passes. Thank you, Mark.
Okay, and the next one would be, which is something I'm sure holds near and dear to your hearts, is the Community Learning Center.
Yeah, looks like we got Laurel Clark here.
Yeah, she's back up. Yeah, so if there's some backup to it. So with the Community Learning Center and the Community Paramedic Program, the Peacedale Library, we've been working for weeks and months on planning with Beta, so Brewster Thornton Group Architects, correct. And we've developed a very exciting plan that moves all of the new activity through the building without interrupting the existing, what's going on right now in the so it promotes and encourages the community paramedic program, job training, job interview space, meeting spaces for tutors, and so on and so on. We will, well, during construction, we're going to reuse a lot of the existing wood. It's going to be reclaimed to maintain the historic nature of the building. And we will, in the old main reading room, remove that masonite ceiling that's up there and expose all of the intricate woodwork that's up there. Nobody knows it's there. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to really bring out the historic nature of that building. And I gotta give kudos to Laurel, because I've been trying for 20 years to get that ceiling down, but it takes a strong library director to really push the project through to the end. And with the BTGA or the Beta, the Brewster Thornton Group Architects and Allberg Construction, you may know they work together to build our recreation center. So there is some work history there with those folks. So if you have any questions on the funding part of this, Laurel's more versed with that.
Any questions on this? Ready to get this over the top?
All right. To bring you over the top, this is a resolution authorizing an award of contract to Allberg Construction Corporation of Warwick, Rhode Island, for the renovation of the Peacedale Library and creation of the Community Learning Center in an amount not to exceed $2,686,200, including a contingency.
Motion to approve item 10C.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Just to congratulate Jim, Luke, you, Laurel. Tim Murphy was here, but I think because of the late hour, we lost him.
Yes.
We know that this has been a long time coming, and congratulations. This is great.
Yes, it's going to be beautiful.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wendy, come on up.
Good evening, Wendy Duart, Town Assessor. So new business item D is a resolution to authorize an abatement of taxation in the amount of $47,121.12 as shown on abatement tax request number 649. It's typical after we certify a roll to have a larger than most abatement schedule. So here's a prime example. So we've got the reval 2. Out of the total $47,121, we've got 11 elderly late filers totaling about $17,507, and we do expect to have more. We're getting them in every day. Just to give you a little bit of background, we try to prevent late filers. We send reminders, we even physically call just to see if we can get them on the roll quickly, but we don't have much control over that. So is there any questions in regards to anything else on there? Pretty typical things. Correction to value means it's like a remeasure, or maybe we didn't have it flagged as an affordable, so we're changing the assessment. Assessor appeal is what it is. It's a decision for an abatement. And then the other category is a listing error, something that was on the roll that shouldn't have been, so we scrub it off.
All right.
Makes sense. Motion to approve item 10D.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, that passes.
All right, item new business E is a carbon copy actually of the department replacement vehicle that the building department had approved the last town council meeting. It's the exact same replacement car, same price, same vendor. We had originally had a different quote for another vendor that was shy of $35,000, so we were able to save $5,000 with a quote of $29,876 for a 2026 Chevrolet Equinox all-wheel drive LT. This is going to be our primary assessment vehicle. Right now, we have a half of a car that we share with the building department. We auctioned off our 2014 Dodge Journey last year. So this is a resolution authorizing the award of bid to McGovern Municipal Headquarters in Boston for 2026 Chevrolet Equinox in an amount not to exceed $35,000.
All right. Any questions for Wendy on this one?
Not really a question, but per your memo that's attached, this is included in the CIP money you already have available.
Correct.
Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve item 10E.
All right, we got a motion.
Second.
We got a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, that passes. Now we got item F.
Item F is in response to an email that was sent in the last town council meeting, but I had this actually already on my calendar for the last year to come here anyway and go through the exemptions. I'm not sure if that's something that you have the appetite for tonight, but I do have handouts on the ADU exemption, the blind exemption, veterans, and the elderly exemption, which is the exemption that was in question.
So
Go ahead.
You can go.
I think it would be really wonderful if we could discuss all of these exemptions at the same time that we talk about the homestead. And then also you reference 17 elderly filers that we did abate their taxes. And so I'm wondering with those 17 individuals, if you know, we need to look at how we're doing our elderly stuff. So I just wonder if there could be some consideration given to those individuals and people that fit that same criterion going forward. So if we could discuss all of that when we have that meeting in October or whatever.
I'd be more than happy to do that. I do have handouts that has basically the breakdown for where we ended for our role, how many are on there, the ordinance that's attached, like everything you would need to know.
That's
I can
great.
give that to you tonight, or we
Yes.
can
No.
save it so you can.
Definitely give
Okay.
it to us tonight.
I'd rather, I was going to say, I'd like to read it, and then we can do it, we can either table this and take it up at the next meeting, or that was my suggestion, but if you want to wait until October, that's fine too. So
I'm actually excited about it because I've been
I'm
waiting for a
super
year for this.
excited
It's been a timing thing.
look at that. Yeah.
All right, so
And
we'll take that.
digest it.
So,
Yeah, we'll take the copies.
motion to approve item 10F and place this item on the work session related to homestead exemptions.
Yes. We have a motion. We have a second.
Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you for all this.
Any discussion?
Ooh, this even has ADUs.
No, we like paper. We like to read and
We
touch
like
things.
data. I like data.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, that passes. This item will be taken up at the work session concerning the homestead exemption and other tax relief.
This is your favorite vendor, Atlantic Controls.
Thank you, Wendy.
They come up all the
Rich
time.
Bourbonnais, only one item tonight.
Just one item, yeah.
What's
no
that about?
muffin muncher.
What's that?
What's that about? Only one item?
Monsters. Excuse me?
I said, what's that about? Only one item.
One item, I know, I'm sorry. I
must have been
I
on
was
vacation.
slacking, I was slacking. Every 2 years, we put out a contract for construction services related to our utility work, for the most part. The contract includes work associated with installing water lines, which is put over to the contractor or homeowner to pay for. But then there are all these emergency services that happen, you know, those things that happen in the middle of the night, they can happen for water and wastewater. So this is to procure Atlantic Controls. They have been our contractor for a number of years. They were able to hold their pricing for the past few years from a previous award, but this past year they said they couldn't hold it, so we put it up. We put out an RFP again, and they are the lowest bid again, and we're very familiar with them. So I'd like to award them the contract. The bid items, it's an item-based contract. You'll see the bid items in the recommendation.
All right, thank you, Rich. Any questions on this?
Motion to approve item 10G.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, that passes.
Last month I was here about a retirement. I'm here again about another retirement, and it's happening at the end of the month. It's Kathy Perez, our wastewater superintendent. She announced only the beginning of last month that she was going to be retiring, and it's happening over the next few weeks. So I will say that Kathy is invaluable. You've met her,
Yep.
and and really knows the process. And one thing that's I know that we talk about it a lot is our permitting. And the permitting is so important with things like wastewater, water as well, but wastewater. And Kathy knows the permit inside and out, and it's going to be a difficult role to fill. We already have some applicants coming in, and we'll look to do that. But I wish her only the best. I think she's going to be driving around the country within a couple of months, so I'm happy for her.
She's also received
Not happy for her.
recognition for the work that she's done, too.
Yeah, state recognized, won lots of awards, and you know, you know, she's just invaluable. So.
All right.
Congratulations
Thank you,
on
Rich.
your retirement, Kathy.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Can you bring some of these people in? We can tout them, do a big thing.
I could do that. I don't.
That's all right.
We have so many that we're going to just do one meeting where we'll bring in everyone. There's quite a few that are retiring, actually.
Some people are shy.
All right. Thank you, Rich. All right, it's going to move us to item I, discussion and potential action relative to establishing a process for Open Meetings Act training for boards and commissions as requested by Councilwoman Deb Bergner. Deb, go ahead.
Super simple. I just think we should establish a process so that every time we appoint, that we have a quarterly Zoom run by solicitors so everybody gets trained. And that maybe at their reappointment, they do it again. So it's either every 2 or 3 years. It's just a refresher. I think it's good policy. And I just wanted to have a process, right, that we can either incorporate, and I see it right into the rules of conduct, just adding a line item. I hope it wouldn't be too onerous, like if you establish them quarterly, like seasonally, the fall, the winter, you know, whoever you can show, it's not required that you go to the next available one, but you should go to one. So that allows some flexibility. Zoom allows for flexibility. Just trying to cover all the aspects of it because so many residents come forward, and especially, you know, planning, zoning, EDC, those need to be aware more so.
Agreed. And Jim, it looks like your assistant has come up with some sort of training program here?
Yes. So just to clarify, in the email it said something about residents, but this is for people that are appointed, correct, by the council for these boards?
Yes.
Okay. And it will be, well, they come up with a training video that they can watch.
Oh, a video?
Yes. So this way, I mean, to have it every quarter would be pretty labor intensive, but I think a training video that they would be mandatory to watch would be the best thing.
Right, we've been working, my office has been working with Luke. This is coming up more often, amazingly, not just in South Kingstown,
right,
but everywhere. The number of new board appointments, the number of turnover on staff in municipalities is at the point where, you know, doing it just in the past, maybe an annual or biannual basis, we'd have a work session by putting it together in a video format that could become available, and then we just make sure that everyone has in fact watched it. And the way we would get feedback is at a planning board meeting or zoning board meeting or board of canvassers meeting or whatever, on one of those agenda items, we will put Open Meetings Act so that we could then have live interaction, questions, that type of thing. So in other words, we would make sure that there's both the opportunity for questions and answers, but as soon as someone's appointed, this will be one of the first requirements, so they are made aware right up front.
All right.
That's a little different than what I had thought, so I appreciate the efficiency, because I think, you know, no one wants to give the same 1 hour speech 4 times a year, but I feel like, I don't know, I feel like there should be everybody who's appointed in that quarter zooms in at the same time and watches the video. If that's what you want to show, a video, right? Have some staff member there to be like, I have 3 questions, maybe they answer them, and then...
Yeah, so, you know, there's a lot of ways of going at this. My thought was that in addition to the video, there would obviously be also written materials. Like we'd make it really simple and straight. The Open Meetings Act is not difficult at all. It's actually, other than the posting of the agendas and the posting of minutes in timely manner, there's not much more to it.
Well, there is, because there's the conversation between that we constantly are monitoring our behaviors. So they are also subject to that, are they not?
Well, yeah, in other words, outside of official meetings, there cannot be more than two people talking to one another, right? So all that would be part of it. But here's my suggestion, and I do like your idea, by the way, of, if you all agree, putting something in your rules and regs. Let us first develop and put in writing what we have in mind, and then we'll get some feedback from you as to, is this the best way? Should we tinker with it? Should we, on an annual basis, do a live one, but then quarterly do the video? Let's come up with something for you to look at, because this just came up recently, so we've had good conversations with Luke. He had some nice thoughts too, so we'll put something together.
Just a couple of suggestions as you're putting it together.
Right.
We already require the applicants to sign at the bottom of the application that they've received certain materials regarding the Ethics Commission, the filing.
We can add this.
The Ethics, exactly. The Ethics Commission, I know, goes out 5 days a week educating different municipalities on request.
Right, that's of course a little different than the Open Meetings Act, but.
Right,
Yeah.
no, I understand that. My point in bringing that up is, I think the AG's office used to do that.
They still do.
And they
annually.
do the summit.
They do a summit.
So
yes.
You've got a pre-recorded, because I just attended it 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, no, we'll make that part of it.
You might want to
also.
look at that as taking cuts from that might be helpful, and it'll save you some time.
Absolutely. Yep.
And it's very authoritative.
It is.
All right.
I've been there.
I don't even think we need a motion on this. I think we're, all right.
I'll just go
Thank
ahead
you.
and we'll get something in front of you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mike. It's going to bring us now to items J, K, L, and M. We got Deputy Chief Bucco here. Good.
Good evening. All right, so the three first agenda items here are all relative to vehicles. First one, item 10J, requesting authorization to purchase two vehicles, one being a 2025 Ford Police Interceptor, that'd be for patrol use. The second would be a 2025 Ford Explorer four-wheel drive, that would be for administrative use. We would acquire the vehicles through the Greater Boston Police Council. It's a contract which ensures competitive pricing and compliance with procurement per standards. The cost will not exceed $91,269, and this cost was budgeted from the motor vehicle account in this current fiscal year, so we have sufficient funds to cover the acquisition. That's item 10J.
All right, I think we can move right through these. Take them all in a block.
Sorry, I'll move right along. All right, second one, item 10K. That is a request to outfit the vehicles with emergency lighting and accessories, both vehicles. The cost will not exceed $28,450. That does include a contingency. The equipment obviously will meet the current safety standards and provide uniformity across the fleet. Requesting the award go to Strobes and Moore and Westerly to complete the outfitting, and the funding will be also from the motor vehicle account and has also budgeted in this current fiscal year to cover the total cost. Moving along, to item 10L is radio equipment for police vehicles. So we're requesting to award Marcus Communications 2 Viking dual band radios. These radios will be placed in both vehicles for police use. The cost will not exceed $11,339.04. Also under the Commonwealth of Massachusetts contract PSE01. These radios allow dual band interoperability with local, state, and federal agencies. It's the same radio systems we use currently in our vehicles. And the funding for this also will be drawn from the motor vehicle account, which is also budgeted in this fiscal year.
Motion to approve items J, K, and L.
You want to take up M as well?
Oh, and M, sorry.
Yeah, let's go for it, sure.
All
It's
right.
related but not, so, all right. Item 10M, that is a requisition, an allocation to All Traffic Solutions for 3 speed alert radar message signs with solar kits. So these 3 signs, the cost is not to exceed $20,000 under, again, the Massachusetts contract SP22 trailer-Q66. So these 3 units combine feedback and messaging capability. They are solar-powered units and also will allow flexible placement by their design. Worth noting, one sign is going to be installed on Green Hill Beach Road, 793 Green Hill Beach Road, in reference to the complaints and the studies we've conducted in the past. The other sign is going to go on Woodruff Ave, another trouble spot for us. And the third sign, we're still analyzing data to determine where the best spot for the third sign will be at this time. The funding for this purchase will be available, and it's budgeted under the traffic calming fund expenses in this budget cycle as well.
All right. Any questions? Go ahead.
Just a comment, when you're talking to the chief, if complaints that come to the council or any indication, Middlebridge might be a good spot for the third.
Sure, absolutely.
Any other
Yeah,
thoughts?
So I did make the motion for 10J, K, L, and M. Just somebody can second.
Second.
Thank you.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All
No,
in
sir.
favor?
Aye.
All right, that passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know, is there anyone?
All right, it's now going to move us back to public comments. If anyone in the audience who hasn't spoken yet wishes to speak, I invite you to come on up. All right, we're now going to move on to communications. Item 12 is an email dated July 29, 2025, from Joshua Port requesting the town code be revised to allow use of the South County Bike Path after dark. All right, Deputy Chief Bucco, come on back up on this one.
All right, so relative to 12A, requesting the use of the South County Bike Path after dark, a few things that are worth noting I'd like to discuss. Obviously, the current town code prohibits the use of the South County Bike Path after dark for public safety reasons. It's been like that since the inception of the bike path. The prohibition is consistent with the best practice of recreational paths, parks, and beaches, which are generally intended for daylight use. Also, no bike path in the state of Rhode Island use isn't permitted after dark. That also includes all state parks, Guarded Park, Colt State Park. Access after dark is strictly prohibited for safety reasons. Obviously, we understand the desire for expanded access, but our foremost concern is public safety. Limited visibility obviously makes it easier for people to access the bike path for nefarious purposes. I can speak from 23 years of experience. We've had several incidents on the bike path in the past. The current ordinance gives us the ability, if we find people on the bike path after dark, we have the ability to move them along. So they don't loiter, they don't hang out, things of that nature. So overall, I don't want to cause concern. The bike path is very safe, but I think it's due in part to the current restrictions that people aren't allowed to access after dark. Also, I think we had to take into consideration if we were going to grant access to the bike path, it would be significant infrastructure costs. There's no lighting on the bike path. It's very dark. So I think some steps would have to take to mitigate some type of lighting issues if people were able to access it. And as it stands now, no motorized vehicles are able to access the bike path with the exception of emergency vehicles for obvious safety reasons. So, my opinion, the existing ordinance has proven effective in keeping the bike path, safe. It minimizes latent disturbances and prevents unauthorized use of the bike path. So I guess in summary, obviously the police department recommends that the current ordinance remains as it is for public safety reasons.
I got a few questions. I'm with you. I agree with, it goes down a bad path if we open up the bike path at dark.
Right.
I think there's potential civil liability, but also I agree if someone's going to be up to no good, it's likely at that time. I don't want to make assumptions. But I do have an interesting question.
Sure.
Sort of criminal procedure related. Because we close the bike path at night, if someone is walking through the bike path, I guess seen by a police officer doing it, we know it's a civil violation, right? You're in violation of the code. Does that give you probable cause, or I guess reasonable suspicion to do a pat down to develop probable cause to make an arrest?
No.
No?
It does not, no. Mere presence on the bike path wouldn't establish reasonable suspicion or probable cause for us to stop and frisk anyone. We would have to have further information that, or belief that they were armed, they were committing a crime, criminal activity was afoot. I can speak from personal experience. There's been dozens of times I've encountered people on the bike path, and it's usually like, hey, you can't be here. You got to move along. It is an opportunity for us to have a contact with somebody and educate them. And then we kind of see where it goes from there. Most time it's a consensual contact, and we move people along.
Sort of like, hey, you're not supposed to be out here. Get out of here.
Correct.
If they comply, they comply. If they don't, that's potential behavior that could, develop into reasonable suspicion, which could be a pat down, and so on.
Potentially. I mean, I can't say that would happen in every encounter.
Yeah.
But if they didn't comply with our order, then technically they'd be in violation of the ordinance, would then, lead us to a further investigation as to what they exactly were doing.
Gotcha. Any other questions? Love these hypos.
Yeah, I like it too. Throw them at me.
So will you or the chief reach out to Josh and explain what you explained publicly here? Because he's not here.
Sure, we can. If that's what you'd like us to do, absolutely.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that works.
I mean,
Want to make a motion to that effect?
motion to accept item 12A and direct the police department to communicate information about the law and the policy to the resident.
Understood.
Second. All right, we got a motion
Thank you.
second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right. You won't find me at the bike path at night.
Very good.
Thank you, Deputy Chief.
You're welcome.
All right, it's going to move us to item B, emails from Melinda Lemos Jackson, Lauren Roth, Avi Goldstein, and Robert Hackey in a resolution of support submitted by Council Vice President Mike Marin requesting the town address proposed service cuts by the Rhode Island Public Transportation Agency. Mike, go ahead.
I'll try to be very brief with this. RIPTA held hearings on potential cuts to their routes, including 3 in South Kingstown. I testified, Councilwoman Alley testified, Councilman Wedgemont testified. In addition, the Save RIPTA group offered up a draft model resolution, which is attached to the emails. I forwarded that to Nicole, and it's fill in the blank, but did you get the letter that I wrote to Governor McKee as well? Because you can fill in the blanks from the letter that I wrote. If not, I'll forward it.
If you would, please,
I'll
that'd be
forward
great.
it to you. And just for the council's benefit, I'll be very brief, and I'll also cut to the chase for the benefit of the public that might be watching. After the public comment period, Governor McKee submitted a letter to RIPTA, which it followed, where he recommended that they hold off on the cuts in the routes in an effort to try and find another way to fill the $10 million gap. My letter to the governor, which goes with the resolution: Dear Governor McKee, as you know, the 25-26 budget included a shortfall for RIPTA's operations of $10 million. RIPTA's response has been to propose numerous cuts to its service lines, including routes 64, 65X, 66, and 69 that serves many of my constituents in South Kingstown. These cutbacks will be devastating to those South Kingstown residents, particularly those of lower income who cannot afford private transportation. Many SK residents depend on RIPTA for their jobs and education. As I stated to RIPTA at its hearings last week, these route cuts are not only putting people at risk of unemployment and loss of educational opportunity, they will adversely impact potential future SK residents who will not have adequate access to public transportation to live in town. There are a number of significant proposed housing developments underway in South Kingstown, including URI President Parlange's 1,100 units for students, Doorpack Company's 350-unit planned development in Kingston, and the town's proposed development of 3 surplus town properties, including the Old South Road School. In addition, these mass transit cuts are also counterproductive to your own ambitious goals with respect to improving affordable housing in Rhode Island and your Act on Climate Change goals for 2030. Reduced access to mass transit will force greater use of private automobiles, sometimes out of reach economically for lower income Rhode Islanders, and that will increase pollutant emissions at a time when we should be reducing emissions. I'm very aware of the difficulty the state faces in balancing the budget. Our council has to undergo similar difficulty with the town and school department budget every year, but in a state budget of $14 billion, these proposed cuts of $10 million constitute less than 0.1% of the overall budget. There must be an opportunity for some reallocation of resources to offset these proposed cuts. Thank you for your consideration of these matters, Michael Marin. And I received communication from his Governor McKee's chief of staff that he was asking RIPTA to hold off on those cuts, which they now have done.
Excellent. All right. I'll make a motion to approve item 12B.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, that passes. So I'm going to move us to 12C, an email dated August 1, 2025 from Amy Dunkel requesting additional traffic safety methods on Green Hill Beach Road.
So I move that we accept communication item from Amy Dunkel and direct the police department to, or someone on the town staff to communicate that we recently purchased solar speed signs and a timeline, and we appreciate her feedback, and we look to see if they can reduce speed in Green Hill for her.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, that passes. It's now going to bring us to appointments. Tonight we interviewed John Desmond to be appointed to the Historic District Commission. Do I hear a motion on that one?
I make a resolution to appoint John Desmond to the Historic District Commission.
Second.
Go ahead.
Just a question for Nicole. Do we have anybody else pending? How many vacancies?
So we do have one pending out of interviews. It was the planning board vacancy where we had the two applicants come in and interview at the last meeting.
No, I meant specifically for historic.
Oh, for
In other
historic?
words, is he the only applicant for a open vacancy?
There's three vacancies on the agenda.
So they're
So we just
currently...
appoint him for a term. So let's,
All right, so we have one more applicant that I can invite for an interview. We currently have 3 vacancies. If you're appointing John Desmond, that'll make it 2. So at least Brian will have a quorum here for the Historic District Commission.
so I'll make a resolution to appoint John Desmond to a term that will expire in December 2027.
Wait, hold on. I had a motion. I think I got to revoke it so you can make the motion.
What's your motion?
I made a motion to appoint John Desmond to the Historic District Commission. Did I not? Anyway, if there's any doubt, I'm going to pull back my motion as if I didn't make one. So you made the motion.
I just give him there's one that is 2025, we should just let that one go. And then the next person, if we want, give him the longer term, and by the time we get a third applicant,
Okay.
oh, that's fine. Okay.
All right.
The
So we got a
longest term.
motion?
I'll second.
We got a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, that passes.
Motion to adjourn.
All right, we got a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We only got 4 or 5. We'll go to the next meeting. We got a motion to adjourn, a second. Any discussion? My only question is, are we sure about this? All in favor? Aye. All right, this meeting is over. See you next time.
Good night, Dad.